morning, everybody. Welcome to the Pasco County Board of County Commissioner meeting for January 21st, 2020. I would like to remind everybody to please silence all electronic devices at this time, and if we can rise for the invocation and pledge.
O merciful Creator, your hand is open wide to satisfy the needs of every living creature. Make us thankful for your loving providence, and grant that we, remembering the account that we must one day give, may be faithful stewards of your good gifts. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
District 1, Commissioner Oakley.
Here.
District 3, Commissioner Starkey.
Here.
District 4, Commissioner Wells.
Here.
District 5, Commissioner Mariano.
Here.
District 2, Chairman Moore.
Here. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, now is the time for public comment. Citizens are given an opportunity to comment on any item coming before the board during this public comments section. The board also takes public comment on items to be placed on a future board agenda or other business under their purview. Public comment for public hearing items are taken during those individual public hearings beginning at 1:30 p.m. It is requested that when you address the board, that comments are not directed personally against any commissioner or a team member, but rather directed at the issue. If you do so, I will give you a warning. If you do it again, you will be released from the podium. This provides mutual respect between the board members and the public. Individuals speaking during public comment will be given 3 minutes to speak. After stating your name and address for the clerk, the timer located on the podium will start a countdown. After 2 minutes, one beep will sound, and the light on the timer will change from green to yellow, letting you know that only 1 minute remains. After the time is up, 2 beeps will sound, the light on the timer will change from yellow to red, indicating the 3 minutes are up, and you will close your comments at that time. Madam Clerk, we have a number of people that have signed up for public comment. If you have not signed up, I will ask you to line up after the last speaker. If you're not lined up, I will cut off public comment at that time.
Okay.
Go ahead.
The first 3 that have signed up are Randy Evans, Tim Park, and Donna Herrick. If you could please line up. Thank you.
Morning. Name and address for the record, please.
Morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. My name is Randy Evans. My address is protected. Last Thursday, I was elected without opposition as the Pasco State Committeeman to replace Bill Bunting. I'm here to speak against the ordinance amending Chapter 115-1 and the creation of Section 115-8. I understand what Mr. Corley is trying to do and accomplish, but I disagree with his remedy.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
if I may, that's a 1:30 public.
He can't come back.
Correct.
Okay,
Yeah.
if you just want your comments to be added into that.
I do. Thank you, sir. I disagree with Mr. Corley's remedy. This ordinance contradicts the Republican Party platform, and it is unenforceable. It is a waste of time and not worth the paper it is written on. Every candidate for public office should be civil towards everyone, not just an opposing candidate. If a candidate feels another candidate is being uncivil, they can walk away, they can call the sheriff's office, or if necessary, exercise their Second Amendment and stand their ground. The Republican platform reads, "We oppose any restrictions or conditions that would discourage citizens from participating in the public square or limit their ability to promote their ideas, such as requiring private organizations to publicly disclose their donors to the government. Limits on political speech serve only to protect the powerful and insulate incumbent office holders." Let me read that again. Limits on political speech serve only to protect the powerful and insulate incumbent office holders. Just as Americans have a First Amendment right to devote resources to favored candidates or views, they have the First Amendment right not to be forced to individually support individuals or ideologies that they oppose. We are a nation of freedom, not intolerance. We need to learn to be more tolerant of others. It is the other half of freedom. We are a nation of free men, not laws. It is the liberal left ideology to create a new law every time you don't like something. Chinese are waving American flags in the streets of Hong Kong as a sign that they want freedom. Iranians are painting American flags in the streets. Again, they want our freedom. Pro-Second Amendment advocates are protesting in Richmond, Virginia. because the liberal government wants to take away the rights of its citizens. And here, the conservative Pasco County, the conservatives want to take away the First Amendment right of free speech from candidates to protect the powerful and insulate the incumbent office holders. Instead of wasting time on this unenforceable ordinance and restricting free speech, why not pass an ordinance making Pasco a sanctuary county for the First Amendment and Second Amendment? Maybe some think this is funny, but it takes away the rights of other candidates. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next, Madam Clerk. This mic seems really low.
Tim Park and Donna Herrick.
Give me one
Yes,
sec, if you don't mind. 1 sec, please. Can we crank these up a little bit? Just 1 minute. I'm gonna get the mic up.
Is that good?
Okay, thank you.
My name is Timothy Park, and my address is 8202 Autumn Lane. And I was here in November, and when I have a concern with my home that I didn't realize how quick 3 minutes went last time I was here in November. And really what it is, I'm at an impasse. Because of the development of the property all around me, my property has become a swamp. And basically what's happened is in the development of that, the last few years when we've gotten the rains, all the retention ponds have filled by about July or August. And what happens is then all that water comes in, but where it used to, this is a home I've had for 40 years, it used to have drainage all the way to Bass Lake. I have the old papers of how that went. Now, I pay stormwater to dump their water on my property, and it stays there. Right now, I still have water on my field. I can't mow it, I can't do anything with it. There's 2 acres, and my home, I have a septic in it. And what happens is, by July or August, the septic no longer works well. If we get rain, it's become a saturated swamp. My children came home, hadn't been there for a couple of years, and they said, "What happened to our property, our beautiful property?" Now, I'm asking you to do what's right. I've given to this county. I've been a chaplain in your county jail for over 40 years as a volunteer, and I still do that. And I've been a giver. And it's been very hard for me in the last couple of years. I don't usually talk about stuff. I just figure things will work out. I have talked to so many people in their water and emergency and stormwater. There's not a solution that I know that they're going to do anything about. I'm asking to either buy my property, pay me damages, or actually restore drainage. I appreciate each one of you, but I'm at an impasse right now. I had a fire some months ago, and what I have to do is either invest the money that will make the property, it'll cost more to repair the property than I can sell the property for, can get out of it. I've been told not to invest that money because of the nature of the problem. You're the people I count on, and I thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Madam Clerk, 3 more?
Yes, following Ms. Herrick is Julie Hagen, Elise Micels, and Jeremy Harden.
Good morning. Name and address for the record, please.
Donna Herrick, 15401 Cary Lane in Hudson. I'm here for about the 10th time trying to find out if it's legal for a county to sell the right-of-way right-of-way to the property and landlock at least 7 other pieces of property and individuals, especially to a deranged individual that they sold it to. Everyone on Cary Lane is subject to verbal abuse, threats, and more. Everything he does, if everything he does is legal, how come he always does it after dark until after 4 o'clock until dark? And on these long weekends like this one, he started Friday night at 5 o'clock and he didn't end until probably 7 o'clock last night, and no permits for anything. We got a fine for cutting down a half of a tree that Irma left, but he's cut no less than 55 across the street, that now it's almost impossible to sleep because you get all the noise from Little Road. And the doctor said a lot of my problems is due to mold, which there's between 15404 Cary Lane and 9408 Bolton Avenue that is a corner lot. There's a camper there with about 2 inches of mold on it. There's a truck back in the woods that's just practically demolished. A boat full of garbage, and nobody ever does anything about it. And those 2 dwellings are on 1 acre of property, which is illegal, that I have mentioned many, many times. The house was moved in on a weekend. A porch was built onto it. The mobile home, one that was condemned, was pulled out, another one put in on a weekend. According to code enforcement, a year ago last November, he had about a 5-foot hole that was supposed to be filled in. Well, he's digging 3 more out now. That certainly is deeper than a road should be. I don't feel like I lived 80-plus years and served my country to be treated this way, along with a whole lot of other neighbors. And code enforcement tells me it's his property, he can do what he wants. How come? It's our property, but we can't do what we want. It really makes one wonder who's got the deep pockets in Pasco County.
Thank you, ma'am. If there's a, Mike, I don't know if there is a trailer, or Mike or Micah, if there's a minimum housing standard issue, then we need to look into it.
And the trees, not supposed to cut down those trees?
Thank you. Next, please. Name and address for the record.
Julie Hogan, 15300 Cary Lane, Hudson, Florida. I'm here for the, kind of the same reason. I live right behind this person. He's digging a road that was supposed to be a retaining wall put up years ago. He's never done that. Instead, now he's digging and making a road that goes way down, right behind my property. So my property's gonna wash away as it goes on. Okay, he's about 3 or 4 feet from my property. I've got 3.5 acres on, adjacent to his. He's put two porches on, no permits, front and back porch. I can see him from Little Road, I got pictures. I've got pictures of the trucks loading up sand, truckload after truckload after truckload after truckload of sand going out of there. Somebody needs to check into this. He is not doing it legally, and he's really messing my property up. And he is the rudest SOB out there to deal with. You can't talk to him. All he does is scream at you. My grandkids just moved in. They're afraid to go on the street. He owns the street. They can't ride their bicycles on the street or nothing. They're afraid of him. Why do I got to live like that? Why do I have to put up with this guy doing this kind of stuff? Somebody needs to do something about this man. He's taking over the street, and he's making life miserable for everyone on Cary Lane. And we do nothing but fight with him. And I would like to have you see the pictures I've got.
Move to receive and file.
Yeah, so just so you know, we're gonna, if we receive those, we're keeping them.
You can have them.
Okay, give them to the clerk, please. Thank you. And then if there is a code enforcement issue, Mike is back there, you can file a report, we'll take your report.
You had a motion and a second.
Okay.
Okay, motion to receive and file, I have a motion and a second, all in favor? Aye. All
Aye.
opposed, same sign. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Morning, name and address for the record.
Hi there, Elise Meisel's 3341 Leaf Lake Drive, Land O'Lakes, Florida 34639. I stand before you as a member of Represent Pasco, a local chapter of Represent Us, a nonpartisan movement where we seek to pass tough anti-corruption laws in cities and states across America. Today I speak in regard to the January 14th article by the Tampa Bay Times titled, "Pasco Demotes Development Services Boss," referring to Assistant County Administrator Don Rosenthal. It appears to coin a phrase, Pasco County is not sending us their finest. I don't know what your HR department does in terms of vetting, but they sure missed the boat on Don Rosenthal. All they had to do was search the internet. I imagine that those responsible for hiring Mr. Rosenthal here in Pasco did so under the guise that the City of Atlanta initially applauded him for initiating a packaged permitting solution to reform their building services department. What your HR department missed or chose to ignore was that Mr. Rosenthal was fired from the City of Atlanta in 2014 due to an ethics violation cited by the their Board of Ethics. As he brought members of his team from Atlanta here to Pasco, I would suspect. On the heels of his termination, the City of Atlanta initiated an investigation into the department he previously supervised due to allegations about building staff offering expedited services for kickbacks and using resources for personal gain, and former staff forging permits and certificates of occupancy, as well as using contractors' licenses without authorization. All this culminated into an audit for years 2012 through 2014, and they released their report in July 2015. Fast forward here to Pasco County in 2016, when Rosenthal initiated his Acela solution, and voila, yet another audit was sparked after the county clerk received an anonymous letter contending the county staff wasn't properly charging the fees on commercial building permits, and that 31,000 building permits cannot be accounted for. Ironically, the Atlanta audit report and the Pasco's audit report findings and recommendations are similar, but more importantly, both reports cite lack of identifying data necessary to adequately draw a conclusion. In my view, the Pasco audit alone should have been enough for the public to dismiss Rosenthal immediately. Dissatisfaction with Rosenthal's performance by the county commission and county administrator should have been enough to dismiss Rosenthal entirely, not create a new role to accommodate him, and particularly not in the very closely related commercial area that drew scrutiny and sparked the Pasco audit in the first place. I see no basis for retention, deem a demotion unacceptable, and suggest that retaining Mr. Rosenthal poses a public risk to Pasco County operations. Thank you.
Thank you.
Following,
Next, name and address for the record, and if there's anybody else, who else?
I've got a couple signed
Okay,
up
go
still.
ahead.
Following Mr. Harding is Cheryl Orchard, Ron Orchard, and Gail Schwenberg.
Okay, and if, yeah, hold on one
Move
second.
to
No,
res-
no, I need you to do, wait, hold on, time out. Time out. Go back to the podium, Jeremy. Wait, I need to take a motion, receive and file after you do your name and address.
First, yours.
What is she handing out?
I just wanted to give
Okay.
you my speech.
Move to receive and file.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you. Okay, name and address, then hand out, please.
Jeremy Harding, 10028 Grove Drive, Port Richey, Florida.
Okay, I need a
Move to
motion.
receive and file.
Thank you. All in favor? Aye. All
Aye.
opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Thank you.
Okay, good morning, Board. I'll try to keep this quick. I see you have quite a few speakers today. The handout that I just sent out is a part of your land development code. I've highlighted a couple areas that there's some major discrepancies with. Section 2 is citing a Florida administrative code that is no longer in force. There's a new code that has replaced that, so that's a very big inconsistency there. The biggest one that I want to hit on today is number 24 on that handout. That states runoff shall be retained or detained on-site in accordance with the applicable SWIFT-MUD rules in effect on December 29, 2011. In particular to my project, I have a SWIFT-MUD exemption. I am not adding enough impervious surface for them to get involved. From the engineers that I've talked to in Pasco that have been practicing a very long time, their take on this is that if SWIFT-MUD is not coming into play, then the county is not coming into play. So I think you guys need to look at that. I've had some people that have had some long history of working here and remember when these were put in and have actually worked on the committees when these codes were written, and they are being misconstrued today. So I would like you guys to make this a priority. It is absolutely killing businesses. I've talked to hundreds of people through this process. Every single one of them has a problem with the situation. You have one engineer in particular that will not listen to any reason. He comes up with his own, and there is no changing it. It is what it is. Sometimes he changes his mind 3 times in a series of emails in the same day. So the last page on that is something I want to bring up. Timber Oaks is still a basin of special concern in Pasco. As you all are aware, that project is complete. You have, I think, 93 million gallons of storage capacity there. My property is just barely on the edge of that. It's the lower area of that diagram, and that triggers more stringent stormwater requirements in your code. I think you went from 6 or 7 million, don't quote me on that number, to 93 now. So I think the problem is fixed, and I think this basin of special concern should be removed. That will help alleviate some problems, but the code has so many inconsistencies, it's almost like a gotcha. You know, if you follow one, the other one comes into play and not. There's a lot of things left to interpretation, and I believe we do not need a duplication of services. If SwiftMud says it's okay, it should be okay. If SwiftMud says you need to do something, we should follow suit. So, thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. And next, read the next 3 for me if you would.
Cheryl Orchard, Ron Orchard, and Gail Schwenberg.
If there's anybody here that wishes to speak to this board and did not sign up, I will ask you to line up at this time. If I don't see anybody line up, I will cut public comment after the last person that's standing. Okay, that's the last person. Yes, good morning.
My name is Cheryl Orchard. I live at 6719 Manor Beach Road, Newport Richey, Florida. Good morning to all of you. I have some papers that I want to pass out first before I go ahead and read my letter, so you'll have the literature.
Second.
A motion is second, receive and file. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed,
Aye.
same sign, motion passes. Thank you.
I've been here a few times, so you pretty much know who I am, I guess. But I'm here today, first, to thank you for some of the things that have been accomplished in the Green Key area. And we're very proud of that, and we're getting hope. But I also want to read something to let you know what it's like to live in the Green Key area. To whom it may concern, the purpose of this letter is to shed some light on the issues in the Green Key estates we are now having and had in the past, since the city of Newport Richey installed sewer lines in this area. The sewer lines were installed in 1993. This was a good thing. It stopped the use of septic tanks, but it created other issues. The installation of these lines raised the elevation of some streets and lowered the elevations on others. These low-lying areas are part of these streets become ponds, and some areas of the streets, without a way for the water to drain off the streets, the water remains on the streets for days, covering the whole street from side to side. Some of the homeowners cannot even walk in the street to get their mail. The kids have to wade through water to the bus stops. We have no sidewalks. To add to the problem, it was a high tide problem. There are 2 drain pipes, one on Manor Beach and one on Largo Terrace, that are to drain the water from the streets. The problem here is the water doesn't go to the pipes due to the elevation issues. The 2 pipes on the reverse problem is the tide water coming back out of those pipes and pushing on the streets, draining them, causing more flooding in the street. But that pipe on Manor Beach had a flap. And in 1995, the tide water coming back was broken. At that time, Green Key had to ask the association to send a letter to the county commissioners regarding this problem. They turned around and put it back on the city. We have 2 issues in there. One, the salt water the cars drove through for 25 years. The rainwater they drove through for 25 years. I have to say, the stormwater came in and they put 2 flaps and repaired that to keep that tide water from coming through to the properties and flooding 3 streets. But we haven't had high enough times to see if they're going to work. But there again, we have a problem with the rainwater being on the streets. We have stormwater effects because of a small rain lays there for weeks. I appreciate the stormwater people that's helped. I appreciate traffic that has come in and created another issue that stopped a lot of problems we had. But we have many issues in there.
Thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Good morning. Name and address for the record, please.
Good morning. Good morning. My name is Ron Orchard, 6719 Manor Beach Road, Newport Richey, 34652. Here this morning to talk about the homeless problem that we have basically in all of Pasco County, leading to us. Our problem has increased, I'm sure, since some of the southern counties have kind of pushed them out. It's come back on us. We're looking at two different types of homeless. We look at the homeless people that are there because they're down and out. And we also look at the homeless people that are happy to be homeless. Okay? In Green Key, we have the problem, we've got a lot of the people that are happy just being homeless. Okay? And this is the major issue you're going to run into. Okay? We've noticed more coming into the Green Key area because of the increased development and improvement of the Leisure Lane area over behind Public Shopping Center on 19. We've unfortunately taken some of those people into our neighborhood, not to the best of our area, but we had very little prior to that. Now we have 3 or 4 camps of homeless people. Okay? This has increased the drug activity that we can see in the area because they come to the areas that have that available to them. We have seen homeless people walking the streets. We've even had them coming to the doors, knocking on the doors, asking for handouts. Okay? This is unsafe because there's a lot of older single women living there. It's unsafe conditions for them. We've had fights in the camps. Police have been called out on some of that. We see the trash piling up on the streets in the area. That creates the impression that, hey, we can dump there, so these people outside the area come in. Good place to throw our mattresses, our couches. Yeah. We become the dumping area for Pasco over there. They steal water from some of the houses, and then they leave the water running when they leave. Okay? We've asked for help from Code and Sheriff. We've had very little true response to this that can really help it. I've written letters to some of the homeowners that are in there, the vacant landowners. I've gotten one reply back. His reply was that he went to basically this was the police department because unfortunately he was in Newport Richey because we're a combination area. They said, you can't do anything, you can't kick him off because you'll go to jail if you go in there and try and get him out. We've gone to the health department under the Florida statutes 386041, 38601, and 38603. These are health and nuisance issues that we should be able to use some of that to address some of these issues in there. So far, we've had no luck. The 2 officers that came out to different areas said they didn't see any odors, they didn't notice anything. This is kind of like putting the horse in the barn, leaving the door open, walking in and say, okay, the horse is looking good. Then you walk away. Then you turn around and the horse is gone because you left the door open. But it was okay because he was in there the first time I checked. So this side of the county has died.
Thank you,
It's
sir.
dying, and we need to fix it up. Okay?
Thank you. So what I would like to do is, real quick, sir, Kathy, point him in the right direction, if you would. See Kathy. Let's put him in touch with the Homeless Coalition. Don and his team should probably get out there and take a look at what's going on.
They've been there?
Well, they need to go back again.
Yep.
Good morning. Name and address for the record, please.
My name's Gail Swedberg, 4917 Largo Terrace, Newport Richey. I agree with everything they said. I'm not going to repeat myself.
Okay.
Okay. I bought my home about a year ago and was brought up to speed with all the concerns and the problems and everything, and a lot of things have gotten taken care of. One of the things that I noticed was the drinking water. No, everybody has bottled water. Nobody drinks the drinking water. And, you know, it leaves calcium deposits and everything. So I decided to have a company come in and test my water because the health department will not do it. I have copies for everyone of the test results.
Move to receive and file.
Second.
Who's your water provider?
Newport Richey, it is the city.
Okay, so let me jump in real quick. So we don't oversee the city's water department, just so you know. That's the city
Right.
separate from the county. We have a private county utility, and the city of Newport Richey
Right.
has a separate utility.
One of my concerns with that is that I don't know if it's any, you know, the pipes are old. I mean, we know the condition of Green Key. Everybody knows it. Everybody complains about different issues at different times. So I don't know if there's some reason why the drinking water is depositing all of this in our drinking water. We bathe in it. We wash our hair in it. We don't drink it. I was going to bring a bottle today, but I didn't think anybody would want a sample. You know, nobody drinks it. So that's the concern is there something going on with the even though we have the drainage problem, is there a problem now with the pipes also? Because it's not just within the past year that all of a sudden the water is not drinkable. People have mentioned to me, and several were supposed to get tested, but they never got back to me. So that's basically what I wanted to touch base with today as far as drinking water.
I need a motion to receive and file her.
I did it.
paperwork.
We
Thank
got a
you.
motion. We have a
So
motion and a
motion's-
second.
Okay, all in
Yes.
favor?
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Thank you.
Okay, and that's really all I wanted to touch base with without repeating
No,
myself.
and I appreciate it. I would highly suggest maybe going to the city of Newport Richey, their
Right.
council meeting, and have that discussion with their water, or call their water department. Because
Yeah, I
unfortunately,
have.
Mike and his team doesn't have any legal authority
Right.
over their water department.
Well,
But I
one of the
can't.
reasons why I wanted to mention it again was because of the pipes and everything that we
Yeah, they
have
would
a
have to look
problem.
into those too.
Even though I'm counting?
I can't keep going back and forth because we don't do public.
No,
in our
but I'm
public-
counting.
I understand, but you still need, I'm just
It's-
giving you a
okay.
suggestion,
The
just.
infrastructure
yeah.
would be the city's.
Yes, it's not,
Okay.
we don't own those pipes, the city will.
Oh, all right.
Okay.
Okay,
So,
did not know that.
thank you, ma'am.
Okay, well, thank you.
Just a suggestion.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Well, I have a water condition.
Good morning, name and address for the record, please.
Good morning, Clinton Wynn, 12709 Wynn Lane in Hudson. I can see I made the last person in line, so raise your hand if you rode on 52 today. Raise your hand if you rode on 41 today. I'm begging you, as a father of an 8-year-old, she asked me to come talk to the county. The road is a mess. Many of you have been here your whole lives like me. Our family started here in 1953. Every day, I'm in a bumper-to-bumper, car accident-ridden area. Thank you for what you are doing, but if you can get me on a committee to be a part of this, I will jump in and put action to this. Let's not make 52 like 54, okay? People are dying every day. Now, I'm not here to cast blame on anybody, but there's been ample time to get this infrastructure set in. And I'm here pleading and begging and asking, as a resident of Pasco, a taxpayer, let's work a plan to make 52 a prime example of what good planning can do versus what State Road 54 is, okay? You all know how to get a hold of me. I've emailed you. I've tried to be a good citizen and try to be helpful to give you guys solutions and answers and actually preempt problems that I see ahead of time. There was an accident at Hayes Road and Hudson Avenue. Again, 2 troopers were called. I see the wires hung, but there's no light yet. Who's going to die next? Okay, guys, I appreciate everything you do, and I really, really respect your positions. I wouldn't want to be in your seat right now with all the growth, but we got a plan. So let's, before 52 asphalt goes down, let's please get a, have limited access points, some kind of thing, so we don't have to do a superhighway on 54.
Thank you.
Thanks, y'all.
Okay. Moving on, thank you all so much. That closes public comment. We do have 2 resolutions today, and I do have one that's a time certain. So we're going to move from 1 to 2. And I don't know if that's Commissioner Wells. I don't know if you have anything to say on RS2 before the clerk reads it? No? All righty. So RS2, if you're here for RS2, I'll ask you to please come up.
The home delivery meal drivers.
And we will, Madam Clerk, if you could please read the resolution.
Resolution number 20-066, a resolution by the Board of County Commissioners of Pasco County, Florida, recognizing Pasco County's home delivery meal drivers for their excellent work, compassion, and dedication to the senior citizens of Pasco County. Whereas many senior citizens have mobility and other health issues that make it difficult for them to stand and cook a meal or go to the grocery store. And whereas meal delivery services have become increasingly popular for senior citizens who need assistance obtaining meals. And whereas the Pasco County Senior Services Division employs 16 home delivery meal drivers with the mission of supplying Pasco County's homebound food insecure seniors with nutritious meals. And whereas the home delivery meal driver is often the only person a homebound senior will see that day. And whereas home delivery meal drivers have intervened during medical emergencies, providing the homebound senior with necessary assistance to obtain life-saving medical care. And whereas home delivery meal meals benefit seniors in many ways, including improved physical health and reduced feelings of isolation and loneliness. And whereas during the fiscal year 2019, Senior Services home delivery meal drivers have delivered an outstanding number of 136,283 meals for senior citizens in Pasco County. Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of County Commissioners of Pasco County, Florida, that said board hereby recognizes and commends Pasco County's home delivery meal drivers for the excellent work, compassion, and dedication to the senior citizens of Pasco County. Done and resolved in regular session with a quorum present and voting this 21st day of January 2020.
Move for approval.
Second.
Motion second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Thank you. Commissioner Wells, or Vice Chairman Wells, I should say.
Would you like to go ahead, sir? And then I'll say a few words after.
Yes, please. My name is Tom Snee. I'm the manager of Pasco County Senior Services. Our drivers are the front line of defense for the health and well-being of many at-risk Pasco County seniors. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank them for their outstanding contribution to our program, and also to thank the Board of County Commissioners for recognizing them here today. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Vice Chairman Wells.
Is Kim, there's no way Kim can go without saying anything. You all know her better than I do. You spend more time with her.
I try not to talk, because when I do, I like to let them go. Plus, I have a little bit of laryngitis. But
Oh, Lord.
these guys are what makes us who we are. I can tell you, there are several incidents where they have saved lives. Literally, if they didn't see the person at the door, they called 911 and saved lives. So these guys are very important. I put them at the top of my org chart because without them, we couldn't do what we do in senior services. So I wanted to make sure we recognize that, and I thank every one of them. They are awesome. They do it for very little other than the passion they have for the seniors. So that's awesome to me. So thank you.
Well, I agree, and, I've had the opportunity to ride a couple times with these fine folks and go out and meet the residents that they help. If you've never done that as a board member, I would recommend doing it, just because it's a little humbling to see how much they appreciate you coming out. They look forward to it every day. You may be the only person they see for that day. And again, we've got story after story, and I bragged about you guys last night. I had to go speak at an event, and we talked about feeding Pasco's elderly, which obviously comes back to each and every one of you, and we really can't thank you enough for what you do for our seniors and our community. We truly can't.
So for the record, that was Kim Price, Human Services
Yeah,
Director.
sorry.
Right. Thank you. All right, great.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, go
If I
ahead.
could. And I want to thank Commissioner Wells for his great service with elderly nutrition. We're all very supportive of this whole program. The extra work you do to raise money to feed that many more seniors is greatly appreciated, and it is critical. It helps these seniors stay in their homes, and again, that extra safety is phenomenal. So thank you for all that you do to volunteer and help make that happen.
Great.
Appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Wells, or Vice Chairman Wells. I keep
We could
saying-
all come down and get a
Okay,
picture with them.
thank you.
Thank them, I'd appreciate it.
We got a plan.
Good. Morning, how are you? How you been? Good to see you, sir. You too. How are you? Good. How are you? Thanks for all your help. Thank you.
I think we're going back here. That's what I heard.
Yeah, we're gonna hold that, and we're gonna get picture facing that way. Everybody wants to.
We're gonna turn around.
Come back here, guys, girls.
You don't come back here? Good deal.
I think we can go back there.
Okay. Come on in.
Come on, you're right over here.
There you go. Good. There we go.
Scrunch in and slide back just a little bit for me. Here we go, 1, 3. 2, 3, one more. Excellent, thank you. One more behind.
All right. Great. Thank you all so much.
Where's the rest of you? Because I'm not counting 16.
They're working.
They're out.
On the other side. Oh, you got it.
right. Madam Clerk, if you can go ahead and go to RS1, please, RS1.
Okay.
And if we have anybody here
Yes, we
for
do.
RS1, which I assume we do,
Yes, we do.
if they could come
Come on.
forward, please.
RS1 are the 2019 Star Performers of the Year.
Excellent. All right, please read the resolution.
I just want to
Mike, you wanna
apologize
get your
ahead of
guys
time
up
in
here?
case I pronounce the name incorrectly.
All the public works, utility
Oh, there
guys, solid waste, code. The team's a big award.
Come on down.
Oh, no, there's a great place on Ridgeway.
Oh, man, yes, there are lots.
Uh-huh.
Christina, you get to get at the podium. No, you're an award winner. Get there, Christina.
Leather suitcases, bells.
That sure emptied out.
Two. Yeah, you have to
All
speak.
right.
They
Yes, sir.
actually, our staff with.
All right.
Work boots. Got a contract.
I'd like to know who's working today.
That's
I think they're all here.
All the stars are. All right.
Good morning.
Good morning, and if I pronounce your name incorrectly, please forgive me. There are quite a few. I will do my best. Okay? Resolution number 20-068, a resolution by the Board of County Commissioners of Pasco County, Florida, recognizing the 2019 Star Performers of the Year. Whereas each year, one employee, one leader, and one team of employees of Pasco County is named Star Performer of the Year and are recognized for their accomplishments. And whereas, is it Ibzan? Ibzan. Good, okay. Ibzan Ortiz has been selected to receive the 2019 Star Performer of the Year award. Christina Cordone has been selected to receive the 2019 Star Leader of the Leader of the Year award, and the community cleanup team of David Ostuno, Tim Head, Robert Finneran, Ronald Reach, Jason Lovell, Louis Levy, Kurt Heizeller, Diane Pace, Aaron Newcomb, Dana Bertholet, Jeff Nunn, Paul Guthart, Alicia Hackard, David George, David James, Kristen Jaycox, David Williams, Bill Rodriguez, Christopher Recchio, Scott Denny, Mike Myrick, Jeff Jennings, James Carter, Randy Weeks, Lloyd Murray, Charles Harris, Sean Crawford, John Redding, Joshua Guthrie, Dan Wilda, Ray Duffy, James Flournoy, Joel Turkovic, Jim Proctor, Mike Stanley, Scott Baldwin, Kevin Banazek, John Leonard, Micah Tharp, Patrick Phillips, Doreen Lang, Amelio Vera, and Amy Elmore have been selected to receive the 2019 Star Team of the Year award. And whereas in order for an organization to become premier, it must attract, grow, and support the workforce of servant leaders dedicated to improving the lives of people, contributing to a purpose larger than the individual job, and performing to the highest levels day in and day out. Whereas these 2019 award recipients consistently demonstrate our core values with an impeccable work ethic, dedication to service excellence, and achieving quality outcomes in every situation. They serve as an example to their fellow team members of going above and beyond and exemplifying the expectations of Star Performer of the Year. Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of County Commissioners of Pasco County, Florida, in regular session duly assembled, that said board hereby congratulates our 2019 Star Performers, Leaders, and Team of the Year for Pasco County and commends them for their outstanding efforts in supporting the county's journey to premier. Done and resolved this 21st day of January 2020.
Move approved.
Second. I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. I think let's give them all a round of applause. Well, thank you all. So to Mr. Ortiz, Ms. Cordon, and the entire community cleanup team, we thank each and every one of you for just being amazing team members. Obviously, without each and every one of you, the county would not function how it does. Now, do either of you have anything you'd like to say?
I just want to thank the board and especially my supervisor and director, so give me the opportunity to excel and just implement some new management techniques during my CIP program. So I think that the award is because they gave me the opportunity to do that.
Well, thank you. It's always smart to thank your bosses like you did. Ms. Cordon, anything you'd like to say?
I just wanted to say thanks pretty much to my team. I couldn't be a great leader without them and all the support that they gave me.
Well, thank you. And do we have a leader for the community cleanup team that would like to say a few words? I mean, you can all say something if you like. We don't mind, but you might have somebody that would like to speak for all of you. Well, thank all of you. Thank you so much. And I know that the community cleanup teams are very important, especially I know Commissioner Mariano and Vice Chairman Wells have been a big part of that in their areas. And I know we're going to do something here not too far in the future in Wesley Chapel too. So we appreciate each and every one of you. You obviously do make Pasco County better and a great place to be. So thank you all. If anybody else would like to say anything before we go down, and then what we'll do is we do have obviously resolutions for each and every one of you we would like to give out. And then we'll come back up and take a picture. But anybody else like to say anything?
I just want you to know we signed those
Starkey?
twice. Your resolutions.
Yeah. Commissioner Oakley?
But
Go,
congratulations,
Commissioner
I'm
Starkey,
sorry. Congratulations to you all. This is a really nice piece. I don't remember seeing something like this before. Maybe we got this in the past, but nicely done, and thank you so much. And for all those who participate on the cleanups, the whole county really thanks you so much.
Yes. Commissioner Oakley?
On behalf of all the board, we certainly appreciate everything y'all do for us, because we depend on you, and our citizens depend on you, and it shows. And y'all done a great job, and we certainly appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Wells.
No, I'll agree, and I say it over and over, you are the ones that make us look good, so truly appreciate it. Truly appreciate your engagement and your buy-in and your trust in Pasco County, and there's no doubt you know who you work for, which is the residents of this county. I can tell you the Moon Lake cleanup, to be out there with some of you and to see the interaction with the residents and actually see how grateful they are that we're doing that. I know you don't always get the opportunity. We don't always get the opportunity to do that. So I think for us to do that a few times a year is great, not to mention the other awards when it comes to leadership. But you said it best, it's about your team. You know, you get out of the way, let the team do it. You surround yourself with great people, you're going to be successful. And that's why I feel us five have been so successful here with the county, because of each one of you and quite frankly, the other 2,500 employees. So thank you. But this is a huge accomplishment, a huge honor. I hope you all realize, like, this is a huge deal that you're here, that you've been acknowledged, and you should be very proud of that. Your family should be very, very proud of that. I know that we are. So it's pretty damn awesome. Dang awesome, sorry.
I don't have a bleep. I still need to go back to Commissioner Mariano.
Say, you know, in my 15 years here as a commissioner, watching everything progress in a very strong and positive way based upon customer service has been phenomenal. Commissioner Wells, I think you started off with the first cleanup. That cleanup went so well that it spring-loaded everything else to go for us to get more cleanups. And I tell you, the people are clamoring not only in those neighborhoods to come back again this year, so we're going to put more work, but I've got other neighborhoods that want to get done as well, which we're working on as well. That's a testament to the satisfaction and the appreciation they have for what you've done. Christina, what you've done with the crew up there at SunWest has been nothing short of phenomenal. I mean, from the day we turned it over to you, the improvements that have just gone on, the attitudes up there have been absolutely phenomenal. It's really just changed the whole game and making that park really flourish. But for all of you, for all your service, I mean, this county is just raising and raising the level of expectation, and it's all because of you guys, so thank you.
Where's SunWest? Where's that at? I'm just kidding. County Administrator Biles?
Yes, sir. Just real quick, want to say thanks to this team. They did an outstanding job this year, and we passed out the packet of all the branch winners so that you could see what some of the ones that aren't getting recognized today, but what they did at the branch level. And I'll say that, you know, we have 2,700 employees out there doing great work every day they show up for work, or every shift. And this is just the tip of the iceberg of some of the work going on throughout the county. And so they couldn't do that without y'all giving us the ability to do that, and then us relying and trusting on them to do the great work that they do. So, outstanding team, but there were no losers in this because every team that you look in here and every individual you see in the packet did an outstanding job this year. And they will get recognized at the branch level, and then we have department level winners. You know, we continue to improve this program every year, and next year it'll be a little better. So we're going to continue to do that. So thank you for your support, and they did an outstanding job, and, you know, I'm glad they're getting recognized today.
Thank you. Commissioner Stark, you had a question for me.
Yeah, I did. Is Captain Michael Shelton here? Be sure and read what transpired during that event. My goodness, thank you so much to our fire rescue team, and that's an amazing story.
This was not easy this year, which is good. I mean, we went through and I think spent quite a bit of time debating and rehashing at the executive level of the winners, and everyone that was submitted was great and outstanding. And again, this is a group that rose to the top, and so we thank them for that. But there are no losers in this group. There was great work throughout the organization.
Well, I'm glad we're doing this.
Okay. So here's what we're going to do. We have resolutions we like to present to everybody, and we're going to do probably 4 different pictures today. Okay, we have time. We're going to do a group with all the award winners. Then we're going to do a picture with just the community cleanup team. And then we're going to do one with just Ms. Cordon. Then we're going to do one with just Mr. Ortiz. Okay? So we're going to have 4 different pictures we're doing. All right? So let us come down. Our resolutions are to the left. So we will hand those out. Yeah, and I need the entire dais, if you don't mind. Come down. There's one for everybody.
They're sandals.
Well, I know we have a lot of folks here, so.
You have to take a brush and clean that.
Commissioners, if you can assist in helping with the resolutions.
Let's do like, one thing, guy, I'll shake hands, everybody's goodbye.
Yeah. Yeah, if we don't, what we'll do, if we could, maybe just one by one, we'd like to present you with the resolution, and then we'll come back here and we're gonna take a big picture. All right? So, congratulations.
Shake everybody's hand coming through? Okay.
Yeah, but I was
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Where's Mr. Ortiz? There you are, sir. Congratulations. Thank you.
You go behind us and
Yeah.
then.
And if you just, we'll go back here for a second. Okay. In the back, and we're gonna take a picture. Thanks so much. How are you? How are you? Good to see you.
They started, actually started. I was just watching.
representative here working I need staff to need to take care of that. We're gonna go with the bad guys in the back.
Okay.
Let's go. If you're on the dais, come back to the dais. So somehow, you guys got to figure out to line everybody up so you can see everybody. I need this side to help.
This might be a good spot for you.
We can't do it from back here. So try to line up everybody so we can see everybody's face.
There's a little opening right there. Oh, nope, just got
Oh, he'll be able to get it.
But like this kind of short, he should be able to.
Tighten up there, girls.
The guy in the blue jacket needs to come to the black.
If you can't see the camera, they're not going to see you.
You need to go up further and send him back. Yeah.
Well, oh, this.
He's tall.
Well, don't, now he just got behind that gentleman. He's taller than him. There you go. You get some people can take knees, actually. They don't take knees. There you go.
How are you on 10 touch for? Do I look taller?
Okay, well, everybody stay. Hold on. So I need Mr. Ortiz and Mr. Cordone to dip out of this picture real quick. Great. Thank you all so much. Thank you again. And then, you guys stay. Yeah. And then, how did I do that? So now we're going back down. Yeah. Now we're going back down. Hold on one second. Okay, so Miss Cordone, Regina, come down. Now we're gonna see right here. All right, we need
What are you doing? Let's go.
You're gonna get fancy here.
Stay up front. It's all about you, not us.
Do we have a joint workshop coming up?
You get some. Yeah.
That's the April one?
Okay, one more. Stay where you're at. Stay where you're at. Stay where you're at.
Discussion on US 301. I think we were gonna do that at the
Okay.
city.
And then, thank you so much, Christina. All right. There we go. Okay. Well, it's now department head.
Oh, different department.
Yeah.
Whatever. Come on in here, yeah.
Okay.
No, I can wait.
Russ.
Now the real one.
All right, thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. This is a big warehouse.
Yeah, he's
Getting hit. Getting hit. All righty. All right. Well, again, congratulations to everybody. Very, very nice recognition, so thank you, everybody. So now we're going to move on. Give me 1 second here. Okay, so the next order of business is the consent agenda. I have a pull sheet with the following items that have been pulled.
What's going on with this?
C14, pull and revise. C15, pull and revise. C16, withdraw. C24, pull and revise. C30, pull and revise. C31, pull and discuss. Is there any more that I missed? Or commissioners, would you like to pull anything else? Seeing none, I will entertain a motion for the remaining consent. Have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Thank you. C14, please.
Is there something wrong with our screens?
Yes, our screens are not working behind the dais there, just so we all know.
Our screens aren't working.
Good morning, Commissioners. Andrew Baxter, Facilities Management Director. C14 is to add the construction bond documentation. I have that here, if I can pass that out. Other than that, that's the only amendment to this item. Recommend approval.
Receive and file.
Yeah.
Move to receive and file.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Thank you.
And then you need a motion to approve the item.
Yes.
Right.
Move approval, C14?
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve C14. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion passes.
C15 was an item to amend and add the insurance certificates related to this construction item. Those have already been distributed and should be in your packages already. And with that one addition, recommend approval.
Move to approve.
I have a motion. I have a second. All in favor? Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Thank you. C16 is a withdrawal. C24.
Good morning, Margaret Smith, County Engineer. We made a change to the agenda memo to correct the fiscal impact statement. You should have that on your desk.
Any questions? Seeing none, I'll entertain a
Move to
motion.
approve.
A motion.
Second?
Second, all in favor? Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Thank you. And C30.
C30 was to revise the attachment, the quote sheet from Econolite, to just modify it.
Move to approve.
I have a motion. Approve.
Second?
I have a second. All in favor? Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Thank you. C31 is a discussion by Commissioner Starkey.
Yeah, I have some pictures that need to be up. I'm sorry, I don't know what's going on with our screens here, but just bringing to your attention what the residents, I've had numerous groups of residents meet with me about this issue. So if you recall the Michler Ranch that was out there on Strawber that we looked at purchasing through ELAMP, but we weren't able to purchase it. It has been purchased by an individual, and they cleared the whole front. And in the close-up, I'm really frustrated that you can't see it here, but the sidewalk stops at that property. And if you know how narrow Strawber is, it's now dumping everybody into the street because they've cleared that walkway area where people used to walk. And now the kids that are going to the bus stop down the street, everyone's walking in the street. And we have crew out there. I don't know what it takes to get something put in there, if we could talk to the property owner or what, but we now have a safety issue going on out there on Strawber. There's 3 photos, so if you could, you didn't get the other ones?
They were a bit small.
They're what?
I just tried to take the one of the actual sidewalk. The other ones were really small.
Okay, well, I show some photos where you pull out and see, you can see that this is a gap between 2, and the bus stop is down on the corner, and so they're now walking down Strawber. There's no lights. It's not a good situation, and quite a number of the residents out there have brought that to my attention separately, so just want to bring that to your attention. With that, I would move to approve.
Motion.
Second.
I need a second. There we go. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, same side. Motion passes. Thank you. And that does it for the consent. We have no other regular items. We have a walk-in, but I will take care of that walk-on during commissioner items when I speak. So with that, moving on to Commissioner Oakley. Do you have anything, sir?
Yes, sir. I've got 4 or 5 things today.
Oh boy.
First, I would like to be so thankful that we had the groundbreaking for Ridge Road. People have been looking for that I know it's been on the books since 1998, I think, so 21 or 22 years have been there with our engineers working, but the project itself had been talked about, and that road has been an idea in the making for over 30 years, what I understand. So when people talk sometimes about that road was never planned to go through there, it was planned to go through there, and it's now come to fruition. It's got started. We did the groundbreaking. So it's a great time in Pasco County. These things work out. It gives another avenue for our citizens on the west side of the county to go to the east when inclement weather and storm weather's coming and hurricanes and get to safety. So I appreciate that happening, and I know all of us were there speaking on it and talking about it. It's a great thing in Pasco. Next thing, I'd like to thank Ralph Lair for our visit to Tallahassee. I've been to Tallahassee 3 years during my being on the county commission. This is the best meeting we've had as county commission in Tallahassee I've seen. We just have so much connection there with our leaders we got, with the Senate, with the governor, and the House, all those members. So certainly appreciate it and puts us in line for a lot of good things to happen here in Pasco County. And we got things going in the right direction. We're actually one of the fastest growing counties in Pasco, and so it stands to reason that we should be aligned this way. But we've been very fortunate in Pasco to have the leadership we've had in the House and also the Senate that's gotten here over the years, not just now, but over the years, all those things. So appreciate it, and thank Ralph for all the work he did to align us for all the meetings and all we had while we were up in Tallahassee. Number 3 is I'd like to thank Margaret Smith and her group on getting, and her department with the signs for the no parking signs on East 54 going toward 98 east of Zephyr Hills. The fact of it is I was hunting with Sheriff Grady Judd this past November, and he brought it to my attention, and I reached out to Margaret, and it was in progress, but I think we got it moved along, and the sign group came together and got those signs ready, and they're up, and we're issuing warnings and citations daily since we've had those signs of no parking up. There's a Polk County side, and there's a Pasco County side, and also Swiftmud. Thanks Swiftmud for their efforts also, because they have part of that. But that's an area where they do a lot of mud bogging and going on property, and it's created a lot of issues, and actually people have died in that area. So Sheriff Grady Judd mentioned to me that he'd been trying to get Pasco County to move because he had already moved to put signs on the south side of that road, and hadn't had a lot of help getting our side covered. But we did, and we got it there just as planned, and he's aware of it. I reached out to him and let him know. So, but you got now Polk County Sheriff and also Pasco County Sheriff officers working together to keep that cleaned up. So it's a great thing in Pasco. We can get those kind of things done. Next, I've been looking at different things, and I took it on my own to pull up the contracts for county attorney and county administrator, and we're looking at them and looking at the dates, and I've got a few questions about it. So, but today's the renewal day of Mr. Steinschneider in his position.
We might keep him.
For his next 2 years, and welcome aboard. But in fact of it is, and you can correct me, Ms. Steinschneider, if I'm wrong, because I was reading it and I picked up certain issues. The only way we can change if we have calls or not have calls is 120 days prior to your, renewal date, I guess. We have to notify you by writing. So the question came to me is, how do I do that? I don't feel like I do that by myself because it takes the board. So that's why I brought it to the board here at the dais to talk about it. And who does the writing of it? So I'm curious. I wouldn't think I'd do it, but maybe this board would do that.
The way those provisions are designed are that at a board meeting prior to that 120 date,
Right.
either I would bring my contract to you that I wanted changes, or a board member would bring it to the rest of the board, and then the board would vote on, they would want changes to my
Oh,
contract.
so it could happen with one board member bringing it,
Right.
but it has to be, but we're not notified of the 120 days,
No.
are we?
No.
Is there a way we can be? And this is just questions. This is not for any calls or anything. I'm just asking. Because it's 120 days was 6 months ago.
Right. And that's designed so that
squeak by.
if there's, if there is if renegotiation of contract needs to occur, there's a 6-month period for that renegotiation to occur. I believe Mr. Biles' contract is shorter than that.
Mr. Biles' contract is 75 days out from his. And his due date's May 1st.
Mine was consistent with the county administrator when I was hired. John's was 120 days back then.
Right.
And that's what generated that for mine. I will say that the administrator's contract back then had a provision that he had to notify the board of that 120 days. And he forgot.
He forgot.
And we had to take a provision, we had to extend his contract in an emergency.
Oh, okay.
Because the contract said he would give them 120 days notice. No, well, this was when he still wanted to be here. And he came to me and said, I forgot. And I said, well, in essence, that means you retire at the end of your term. So we brought back an extension. I think the thought always was in my mind that your staffs would keep track of that if.
Right. Well, would it be in line if we had a notice to the board of that 120 days prior to, and also had an accountability of your department, or to bring that to us, or would that not be?
I mean,
because I'm not saying, I don't know of anything you're doing wrong. I'm not here about that. I'm just questioning because nobody thinks about it, but everything seems to flow good. So, I mean.
So if the board would like me to put it on my tickler for 120 days prior it will be now in 2 years.
Oh, yeah,
right. I could do that.
It's actually a year and a half.
Year and a half, true, true.
But we would need notice prior to that 120.
Right. So
we add 30 days to that and report a month ahead of it?
Yeah, we can do that. My issue is if it gets dropped for some reason, what does that do to the contract? And that's why there wasn't a provision in the contract that said it had to be done. That's why my contract didn't have that. That's why this administrator's contract didn't have that, especially after the issue with Mr. Gallagher.
Well,
I can put
I'm
it on my
trying to figure out how
calendar
we
to
would
give
know
you notice.
120 days, because commissioners get busy and we're not paying attention to that closely, you know. But I would think it would be a good, perfect time for some type of accountability and how your department's being worked, or how, just bring us up to speed, how things are going. I mean, we've had questions lately of facts of when we have a new ordinance that you've got this stack of ordinances, but if you bring in a new one, it goes underneath the stack, and how that flows. So I think that's something that we need to know anyway.
Let me ponder the easiest way to give you that notice.
Okay.
And I'll bring that back at your next meeting.
All right, that'd be fine. And Mr. Biles, his date is, his date for rehire is May 1st, and he's got 75 days out in front of that, I believe. Is that right, Mr. Biles?
Correct.
So, I mean, we only hire and fire 2 people. And when things goes on and all the staff and all the department heads and things that go on, if we dislike certain things and we're reaching out to administrator or the attorney's office about some things that are not going the way they should go, and we don't get good answers, and our citizens look to us for good answers all the time. And if we can't reach out to your directors and get answers back in a timely manner, then we're held up on giving our citizens the answers they want. I mean, some people think they ask too many questions or whatever, but they have the right to know. We have, as commissioners, the right to give them our ear to hear and speak for them and find out those answers for them. I have some issues that are still standing out there that I haven't got answers for. And I've gotten to the point, I've been here 3 years, and I get tired of not having answers for certain things in our county, and I'm not going to name them, but we need to know. Our citizens are asking, and they deserve to know, and they deserve to have us act for them. They elected us to act for them and run this county. So if we don't reach out and talk to our administrator and our county attorney and his administrative directors, and we can't get answers, then somebody's got to answer for it, so it falls back on us. If we can't help give suggestions to the administrator about some of his directors that are doing a great job or not doing a great job, if we can't reach out and get answers and corrections toward that, and customer service, very important, I mean, then something's wrong. Then we have to make a change. And that's something I think is very important to this board and important to the citizens of Pasco County. They put us here to lead. They didn't put us here to follow somebody else. So we're here to make those decisions. The only way we can make those decisions, if we've got the ear of our county administrator and our county attorney, that we get things done the way we wish they would be done for the betterment of our citizens and our county. So it's a moving target, so we want to keep up doing a good job. So I think with that, pretty well covers. A lot of things are happening in Pasco, and a lot of good things are coming. You ever heard the story? There's an old story about when you finish that Christmas dinner with all the fixings and the turkey and everything, and the ladies come by and pick up your plate, and they always tell you, hold on to your fork, because the best is yet to come. So I can tell you here in Pasco County, hold on to your fork, because the best is yet to come. A lot of things, good things are happening. Thank you.
Chairman.
Yes, yeah, Mr.
If I could,
Vice Chairman
on
Wells.
Commissioner Oakley's comment, when I first became commissioner, I know that we did a review on Michelle Baker. I know it's public record, CT, I'm fine with that. I know Dan and I've spoken, I meet with Dan every month, so him and I have candid conversations monthly. I would be open, maybe, I don't know how other boards do it, maybe it's a quarterly update from each of us to Jeff and to Dan, talking about the good, the bad, opportunities. Just throwing it out there, I'm okay with that. I think it helps them know exactly where they stand from us, and we're not up here discussing it, and then we would all know with the sunshine, obviously, but we would all be able to get copies of it and see how each of us feel. I think, I can tell you, looking back from Michelle, I was very, very, very detailed in my expectations of her. I thought it was important, and I thought it was important, quite frankly, for the residents to see how I felt she was doing at the time and the improvements that needed to be done. So I'm just throwing it out there. I think that I know Dan and Barbara have worked on trying to revamp the way that they document employees and stuff, and I think it's important. You don't know what you don't know, and if you're not documenting it, good and bad, I don't, how do you know how you can improve, or how do you know what you're doing great? I would be okay with that as a board member to document something for both of them, quite frankly, and again, I think it's a positive. Just my 2 cents worth.
But I didn't well, we talked about the county administrators getting back with us how to change Dan Art to also give us, so we need it for both of them, actually, to be accountable in whichever way, but to notify us before that 75 days and have accountability for this board, so.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Mariano.
And I think it's, a good point that notification should come early, and that should come from each one of them ahead of time. And to follow on Commissioner Wells' point, I think he's on the money. I mean, Champ Bay Regional Planning Council has a very detailed set of lines that you can do, how was this year's report? So I think at a minimum, an annual report would be good. That should be on a file that we can even discuss as far as it goes on. It gives them the opportunity, too, to kind of look to where the hot button issues are for each of the commissioners that they need to address, and it's in print so they can actually see it and then go work on it. So at a minimum that, but if you want to do it even more frequent, that's fine.
Okay, so I think what I'm hearing is a little bit a suggestion of an annual report from the county attorney's office and the county administrator's office to this board. Is that what you're stating?
It's even for our own evaluation as county commissioners, evaluating how they've been doing.
Okay. So you would like to do an annual evaluation? Is that what you're saying?
Board, like I said,
I'm
I
just
didn't
asking
mind
you, I
doing
have a lot
it,
coming on,
you know.
so I'm trying to figure out
That,
where all
that
that.
was my point, and again,
Yeah.
it's something we could maybe
Sure.
talk to.
We used to do that. I
Yeah.
don't know how we got away from that.
And again, I don't think it's a bad thing. I think being as transparent as possible is a good thing. And I think it maybe, since we're having these conversations, it might be something that we do as a board in the next month or two for each of them. Again, I don't know if, Jeff, if you want to maybe see how other counties, maybe our size, do it. If there's an example. I know the review
have the old
process we
one.
had for Michelle was very old. Just from what I remember, but I haven't seen it. So, and I don't know, Dan, if you're the county you were at before, if those commissioners did it or those council folks. It's not a bad thing. I think when again, it's just you lay out expectations and how folks are doing, it's a positive. So,
I will let the county attorney respond to the question.
I can provide the evaluation form that I had provided several years ago to the board. I can ask Tampa or Hillsborough and Pinellas and Manatee whether or not they have a more updated form, but there was a form that was generated for the board's use 3-4 years ago, something like that.
okay. If that's okay with the board,
Okay,
That's all I have.
thank you. Commissioner Starkey.
Okay, I have some photos that you're not going to be able to see because our screens aren't working, but, Ms. Friend? Hello? Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. First of all, one of the coolest events of my life, I think, was my trip to D.C. to watch the China trade deal. Oh,
Was that
no.
the way you walked
You're
up
walking
there?
on ceilings.
That's actually when we're coming out. But it was really something to walk in. I literally walked into the East Room with Henry Kissinger. He wasn't walking as straight up as I was, but he had the help of a cane and a helper, but it was just incredibly cool. I didn't even realize it, but I stood in line for 20 minutes with the new CEO of Boeing, because we were all at the front of the line to get into the White House grounds, if you know how that gate works.
You tell him to come to Pasco.
I told him we're all rooting for him, and we want manufacturing jobs. So, but very cool experience. There were 3 commissioners from Florida there, and just really a very cool experience. And I do expect that this trade deal is going to have some immediate good effects on Florida. In agriculture, I don't know if you know that Florida is what's called a cow-calf operation, and so we breed. We have a lot of breed cattle, and we ship our cattle out west after before they're 1-year-olds, maybe.
Oh, yeah, 6 or 8 months.
Yeah. So we can now ship live cattle to China because that's been banned for over 15 years.
Oh, really?
So that'll be really good for the Florida cattle ranchers.
Yeah, wow.
And also will open up a lot of ag opportunities that I see Florida being able to take a part of. And this is just phase 1, so more to come, but the tariffs remain, and China has to perform before the tariffs go away. So just really a great bill or agreement. The more you look at it, the more you realize how much how much good it will do for the United States. I wasn't able to go to Tallahassee with you all because of that, but as you know, I sent Danny, and I heard it was a great trip for everyone. But one of the things that I've been working on that is not part of our agenda here, but have been working on this nationally, is reciprocity for military spouses. And this has to do with licensing. And I've been on quite a few calls with the White House. This week it was with the Vice President Pence's wife and some governors who have done great things for military spouses. In Florida, we have 22 bases, military bases, and it'll affect all those bases. I think there's 65,000 65 active duty military families that call Florida home. And so the idea is that when a military spouse moves, and I know we have a lot of former military here, my daughter included, she has to get a new license in every state she moves to, and it takes time and money, and frankly, greatly inhibits the financial abilities of my daughter's family and other military families. So I am hoping that Florida will do what some of the other states have done and accept other states' licenses. My daughter is licensed. She's a physician assistant. She's licensed in Florida, Alabama, Colorado, and Washington. She didn't even bother in Hawaii, so just was a lot. So 4 or 5 states this year have enacted reciprocity, and I'm hoping we'll be one of them. So I'll continue to work on that. And I'm going up for the FAC Legislative Conference. As you know, I chair the federal committee, and I'll be working on this again up there. Also, I participated in the FAC call this week on, it was on preemption with short-term rentals. So I think we need to pay attention to that and see what happens. As you know, when I was chair of tourism, I was concerned that we have a lot of short-term rentals that are not collecting money, and the hotel rooms are collecting the money. It's not fair. To me, it's all or none, and one business shouldn't get an advantage that another one doesn't. As I personally think, just like so Airbnb collects the money and sends it to the state, but VRBO and HomeAway, which is now the same company, and there are many other companies, we only focus on those two, they say it's the county's responsibility to collect that money individually. And no county can keep a calendar of every home and every weekly rental or every 3-day rental and collect that money. So I think we all need to help get our state and at NACO, make sure that we're all getting VRBO and HomeAway to collect the money like Airbnb does. Let's see. The Starkey Gap, there's, so that's Ivanka in the black and white dress. That's the head of the Boeing CEO. And I think the president is blocking the view of Henry Kissinger. He's sitting down. But anyway, that was the East Room. I have another photo. So it's funny, last week, Sam Bennick, the project manager of Starkey Gap, and I drove the trail. It's fabulous. I think it's already, we're seeing people riding on it before it was ever opened. But we have some challenges, and it's hard for you to see since our screens aren't working. But as we came back across down 54 and to turn left back onto Starkey, there is a cyclist stuck in the middle of State Road 54. And I think some of you guys weren't at the MPO meeting, but I received emails from a father who lives in Longleaf who got stuck both ways with his family on the median on State Road 54 with cars going 50, 60 miles an hour past him. So this is going to be a problem. I talked with Secretary Gwynn. I was at a session with him last week, and he's going to meet me up here this week. We cannot get the overpass quick enough. And so we're looking for the safest short-term solutions, but I'm going to predict someone's going to get hit. Cars are parking along Trinity Boulevard because we don't have a trailhead, and we think we've identified some good temporary spots for a trailhead, and that trail really officially silently opened on Saturday. So The Tampa Bay Partnership, in partnership with the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, selected Tampa as one of their target cities to help with workforce. And they've got a program going called Tampa Bay Works. They did a study of what the top sector should be for their focus for workforce training. They settled on manufacturing and healthcare were the top two that needed help in the Tampa Bay area. They brought together Jabil, Nielsen, a bunch of manufacturers from around the Tampa Bay area, and they had meetings and they selected AmSkills as a program to do their test pilot. Last week, we held actually Saturday, there was a boot camp in Pinellas County with, I think, over 20 manufacturers. And when asked, how many people do you think they're going to get to come to this boot camp, Jabil said 4, and Honeywell's saying like 3, because they know it's so hard to recruit in manufacturing. Well, we had almost 50. So it's huge success. They were so impressed with it. And this was a one-day training program to see if they wanted to go into a more in-depth look at a manufacturing career. And we will be having a 2-week boot camp that AmSkills will be running, and it's funded by the Tampa Bay Works. So really proud of our program and its accolades for the manufacturers in the Tampa Bay area. I had a meeting last week with Keith and Mike and some other staff, and I see Swift Mud is in attendance, and I gave them a little heads up that this was coming. But we have many well fields in the county, and really only one has a really nice recreational program attached to it, and that's the Starkey Preserve. So it's my hope that we can start having discussions on how can we get more recreational abilities in some of the other well fields. And so the first thing to do is have an inventory of what we have and what's available already in some of those well fields, and how can the county and Swift Mud and Tampa Bay Water work better to provide some kind of amenities in those parks. And I just went on our Parks and Recs website because I was thinking about the Green Swamp because my sister-in-law was out hiking there this weekend. But if you go to our website, there's no mention of the Green Swamp. Well, it's not a county park, it's a Swift Mud park. But I guarantee you, there are a lot of people that have moved here who have no clue what Swift Mud is and would not have a clue how to even look up where other recreational opportunities are. So I want to try and marry our Parks Department and Swift Mud Recreation a little better, and where we can have our county get more involved in, again, opportunities on those parks. Some are owned by Pinellas County, some are owned by the city of St. Pete, and some are, Swift Mud properties like Green Swamp. So so that's an initiative that I'm getting going. I'm keeping Danny very, very busy. HUD changes came this week on zoning for low-income housing, and I'd like Ralph or somebody to tell us what these changes are and how it affects us. I'm not sure if the county attorney saw. I think I forwarded it to you, and I forwarded it to Mr. Biles, but they just changed a bunch of rules that have to do with zoning and housing. And let's see, T-BARDA. Yeah, no, I'm sorry, I've been very busy. T-BARDA, we had a workshop a couple weeks ago, and T-BARDA currently gets its funding a little bit from the counties, and then we have recurring funds coming from the state, and we don't think those funds are going to be, they're not forever. They want, we need to be able to stand on our own 2 feet, and in order to have a regional transit plan, it's going to require regional cooperation. So we are working our way through figuring out what that regional funding opportunity could be. We are short 2 governor appointments on T-BARDA, and one of which I'm trying very hard, at least one, to be a Pasco County voice, because right now I'm the only voice on there. Hillsborough County has 3 votes. They've got the mayor, they've got their Hillsborough person, and then they have the person who's in charge of Hart, and then they have a governor's appointee. And Pinellas County's like that as well. But Hernando has one voice, actually has two. They have their commissioner, and they have their a governor appointee. But we have one. So, and they all agree that we need another voice on there. So I've got a call out to Dewey Mitchell. We're trying very hard. We did reduce our meeting schedule from 12 to 9. And I hope that we can get more business people because of that. But I need everyone's help. We need to get at least one more voice on T-BARDA and maybe two. And I think that's it.
Right,
Yeah.
thank you, Commissioner. And I would agree with you on T-BARDA. I know I said it many a times. I think we got the short end of the stick on that. Still don't agree with that legislation that was passed. But if he can't do it, I mean, let us know. We need somebody on there.
Yeah.
And then just send us a public email, and then we can all send a letter of support to the governor's office. So thank you for that. Commissioner Wells, Vice Chairman Wells.
Thank you. And on that, Commissioner Starkey, I wish with T-BARDA they would have a more central meeting place instead of having to go all the way down to
We
St.
move
Pete.
around. I was in Manatee
do?
County
Okay.
Friday. Had to spend the night in South St. Pete.
It used to be at the FDOT building by USF, and now they're moving around.
We can't go there because they don't, you have to live stream.
Just more tactical.
Okay, that was some good updates, thank you. I know you all listened to Mr. Parks today, I know he was back in November. We're working with him, Andy, we're working with them, trying to look at maybe trying to purchase a property. And I feel for the guy, he's paying the MSBU for Magnolia Valley, which is supposed to alleviate the flooding, and he has flooding and has had flooding. It's a unique situation there. I know Swift Mud's going to be getting involved too to look at some things that have been done by the neighbors. So just so you all know, we are working with Mr. Parks and have been. He had told staff last week that he wasn't open for us maybe looking at purchasing it, but he obviously said today that he is. So I'm going to personally go out and meet with him too. So I just want you to know I feel for him. I met him 3 years ago when he had some flooding, and it breaks my heart. But it's a closed basin through there. So, but we are working with them. So, just so I can bring that up. And we all got an email from Covanta, and I think it's important. I look back at the vision of the board back, when my father was on the board, when it came to stop putting garbage in the ground and let's start burning it. They were able to build this, energy from waste facility. And I just wanted to give you some updates, and we've done just that. It's pretty cool. And again, I think it's cool for the public to look at these numbers. We processed over 341,000 tons of municipal solid waste last year. Energy from waste reduced the waste volume by 90%, saving over 453,000 cubic yards of landfill space. They said that this is the equivalent to almost 6 spaceship Earth buildings at Epcot. I mean, it's a big deal. We've, a year and a half ago when we had a different ACA besides Mr. Carbala, we were looking at trying to put more into landfills, and we don't need to do that. So we produced 200,000 megawatt hours of energy, which would provide enough electricity for over 17,000 households in the community. We recycled almost 10,000 tons of ferrous metals. We recycled 1,200 tons of non-ferrous metals, including nearly $10,000 worth of discarded coins. So, and as of December 31st, facility has gone 3,000 days without an OSHA recordable injury. I mean, that's 7 years. That's pretty, tells you the kind of job Covanta's doing. And if as board members, if you haven't been out there, you should. It's pretty cool, the technology we have here in Pasco. And then after them, they completed the EPA stack testing, and the Covanta Pasco facility emissions averaged over 92% below the EPA. I thought that was pretty cool. And then I'll close with this. While we believe you may know that our waste process and recycling enabled us to reduce greenhouse gas emissions by 341,000 tons, realize also that had that same waste gone to a landfill, there would have been less energy production, 20 or 30 times more greenhouse gases emitted, and no metals recycled. So I just wanted to give a shout out to the team out there. They're doing an unbelievable job, and the vision of that board to get us where we are today, it's pretty amazing. So thank you.
Commissioner Mariano.
Thank you. And to touch on Vice Chairman Wells, that energy plant was such a awesome move by the board way back when to take that big step. It is something we still got to work out as far as our agreements coming up, as far as trying to get more money for electricity, which is, I know the FAC wants to be on top of as well, but we got to keep the pressure to that. And I'll say I met with some people from PAWS, our local company here, that now has 70 employees. They want to work with us to use that ash site out there and actually make that for more road-based. I think, Mike, I know we're in contact right now in conversation, but sharing with the board, the more that they can use, even if it's 10 or 20% of what their base would be, takes away those mountains that are out there that are so expensive to rebuild, that if we can keep on pulling that stuff away, I think we'd be better off. But again, Covent has done a phenomenal job for us. I do have a few issues, and one of them was brought up today. So I know we had this discussion before, but let's say talk about Kerry Lane. We had someone come in and buy a road for on a tax deed sale. I've got other situations in that whole area. Mr. Steinschneider, is there a way that we can actually keep this from happening? And I know when we look at roadways going through, I know we just signed one, if not on this meeting, the previous meeting, where we do eminent domain of necessity, where we can actually say we need this road for people to get in and out, and we can actually take the road back?
No, there's no eminent domain of necessity. You can engage in eminent domain to take the road again, or if they are landlocked, they have what's called a statutory way of necessity. But even if the tax collector sells the underlying fee, it's still subject to the roadway easement. So even if he owns the base, he can't they've had a historic way of necessity over that road. My guess is there is also there is an easement of record over that road as a private road. The fact that he owns the underlying fee doesn't negate that.
With that said, let me just go touch, because you've at least covered the basic part of what I want to take a look at. What I don't want to see is this guy here, from the pictures of, if you're all going to look at him, he's digging out large amounts of sand, dirt, which is going to lower the road, which is going to make everything a road, like the lady says next to her. Even if we don't own the road, he owns the road, is there a way we can, let's say, do a paving assessment, get the road maintained the way it should be maintained? I've got other roads up and around the area where a guy, again, bought it for a tax deed sale, and he's not maintaining the road, and the people can't get in and around. So much the Postal Service says they won't come out, but our emergency vehicles can get in. What can we do to put pressure and affect a situation where the road gets maintained? And if they don't do it, that we do it and we assess them for it.
So we're talking private roads.
Private roads that someone has bought.
And not public road. Well, it shouldn't matter. The title issue that has occurred shouldn't matter. You've got private roads that aren't being maintained regardless of who owns the underlying title, all over the county.
Yeah.
That's the general problem with a private road, is they're supposed to maintain their own land. That if it was public, it would be our duty to maintain. It's private, it's their duty to maintain, and worse, you can't spend public funds on it because it's private. It's the improvement of private property. There are Attorney General's opinions on that. It's possible that the board could adopt an ordinance that would make it an enforcement issue to maintain the road. I think, but you're going to then get into the scenario where they're not maintaining it because there's no association to maintain. It's in a not affluent section of the county. They can't afford to maintain the road. We can look at the issue of whether or not you can can use the PVAS process, but historically, we've advised you that unless you have a public easement, you can't use the PVAS process.
I mean, if I've got a situation where this guy has a private road and he's destroying the road and everything around it, if there's a way we can do something to maintain that road in a better condition, because literally, I mean, it looks like it's gone down about 4 feet, maybe more, just by the pictures, it's hard to say, but there's got to be a way we can make them, hopefully if there's a way, we can find a way to get that road fixed the way it should be and not let them even change the character of the road. Something along the line where they just can't come in and go dig a road up, and he can just say, it's my road, nothing you can do about it's private road.
Well, is he digging Cary Lane itself, or is he digging his property adjacent to Cary Lane?
It looked like it might have been the road itself.
I
I mean, maybe we need staff to go take a look at it, Mike, maybe, or Dan, to have.
Well, we'll have code go out.
I don't think code is going to be able to look at it specifically, but I think you're going to need to have a road construction person out there that's going to be able to say, okay, this is dangerous for the road. I mean, Micah can go look at, did they dig some stuff, but we need someone to go look at, okay, where is the road? Is he digging out the road? Is it unsafe for drainage or other uses? But I think Micah and you need at least a road person to go out there, someone with some expertise.
Okay.
There may be an issue of whether or not the activity that he's engaged in is mining at this point, and he's doing it without a permit, and that clearly is something that you've already got ordinances on the books.
Okay.
Piling up fill dirt from the pictures, which you can't just go.
Yeah.
throw a
All
bunch
right,
of
so
fill dirt.
we could get a report on that next meeting? All right. Tim Brooks, Basin of Special Concern. Years ago, when I first was elected, we had flooding issues all over. That was one of the areas, and we wanted to do something about it, so we made a Basin of Special Concern. It was the second one in the county. Now that we've made the major investment out there, we don't need that. I will tell you, 6 months ago, we had a meeting with Jeremy Harding and staff. I thought this was going to get addressed. It seems like it hasn't been addressed. So I'm going to make a motion that we look at removing Tim Brooks Basin of Special Concern, subject to the staff report coming back to us.
Well, you don't need to make a motion today.
I need to make a motion.
What
And
is it? Because you're giving
To motion to
direction.
bring it back. Let us go, let's make an agenda item and bring it back to us. It's affecting everybody in that whole area. It's affecting the development of that area.
I see what you're saying. I'm just trying to figure out where the motion is today, because we can't make a motion to get rid of it.
Not
until-
to get rid of it, just
Right.
to get staff to bring it back.
You don't need a motion to do that, do you?
Well, I can give direction, but I see Mike Carbella nodding his head, we can get it back, so.
You want a time frame
Once you
with
do
that
that,
motion?
I'd like to have it back at the next meeting over here in Newport Richey.
Action to make a motion. That's all I'm just saying. I mean, you can.
Well, sometimes it goes, discussions happen after, well, you didn't make a motion, or wasn't a motion made.
I'll refer to.
I'll second it.
Okay, Mr. Chair,
Hold on, please.
I
I'll
think that
refer to the county
requires,
attorney's office. We can do
okay,
that.
that requires the Land Development Code amendment, I'm pretty sure, so that needs to go through a process. It's got to go to Planning Commission and 2 hearings before the Board of County Commissioners.
Right.
But the
So I agree.
commissioner is
So
just asking
I
for
wanted-
a report to come back to the
Oh,
board.
for the report, yeah, okay, I wasn't sure if he was asking.
No,
for
I want
adoption
the
or-
report to come back to us, so we can put it in motion to make it go to the next step. So that'll be my motion, move it forward, to bring it back at the next meeting over here.
Second.
Okay.
Okay. I mean, we can do it. I just don't know what it's action, but go ahead. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.
Thank you. Actually, up on the screen, there's a picture on Leisure Lane. If you take a look at this video, there's a lady, the first trailer that's going to be coming up here shows you a lady that was on NBC News where she had trouble. She had to go build a fence because the people are right beside her. That's the trailer right there. That's the fence she put up. In the background, you can't quite see the picture, but I'm driving in my car, filming as we go along. There's a bunch of homeless people have taken over that whole area. Look over a few more clear lots. Coming up, you're going to see where a home got burnt down. We've torn it down. Look at the trash that's built up in there. It's mind-blowing to what's up there, and the attitude that's up there is bad. So when Mr. Orchard was here talking about people going from Green Key to there, I'm going to tell you, they've got couches, they got mattresses, it's a regular campground out there, they bought a cooker out there. It's something we need to get, not only just code enforcement, sheriff's department, we need to get a grappling truck out there and just get that stuff cleaned out. This is something where, I don't care if we need to go fence the properties off, whatever, but something's going to happen, because we have taken a situation with an opportunity to do something real good, and it's not turning out real good right now. I do have other pictures, which I didn't show you, but they've got 3 other homes under construction. We took care of a couple of things that we had to do with the properties abutting them all. So I think there's 3 other homes being built right now. So we are going to make a difference, but I'm going to tell you, as well as working on an infrastructure project for the 1.2 or 1.5 million for the septic to sewer conversion that's got to go on. We need to address that issue now to get that area up there cleaned out. It's just not right for those people to have to live through that.
Let me ask a question too, and this will probably go to Kathy and see if you know, but where's the coalition's involvement in this situation out there, if any?
I
Because
don't
they
know
get
if-
funding from the county to, work on these
I'm going to
items.
say, I don't know what the coalitions do, but I will tell you this. This past weekend, I actually called up the Rope Center to try to get a couple of homeless people to do some work for some folks that need a little bit of help. The Rope Center people were busy. I couldn't get anybody that weekend, both Saturday and Sunday. They're busy working, they couldn't do anything. These guys here, I don't know what they're doing, but they're just sitting on the couch on a perfectly good day where they could be working, doing nothing. Now, I will tell you, down in that area, I was alerted by some people that were in the area, and they said, there's a church that goes out there and feeds these people too. So we're not helping them, we're only keeping them there, causing more of a detriment. And that affects the whole shopping plaza, affects the neighborhoods around it. And I don't know what the coalition's doing, maybe Kathy can talk to it.
Do you know anything, what they're doing out there?
So, Kathy Pearson, Assistant County Administrator, Public Services. Dawn Anderson, the president of the Homeless Coalition, will be on your calendars very soon, briefing you on a quarterly basis on what they're going to be doing. Marcy Esberg is our own Community Development Director, and she is the chair of the COC. I will tell you immediately right now, they are partnering with Metro Ministries, and we have a AmeriCorps team in place coming to this county to start doing the hot spots and outreach into these camps. So that they want to fill you in on. So that is going to be happening. So stay tuned. They are working on a plan. We have the point account coming up on the 28th. So there'll be more areas identified there too.
Yeah. So, hey, Kathy, and I appreciate that too, but just to Commissioner Mariano's point though, this is happening now and it's really out in the open. So these aren't hidden camps in the woods. This is like in the this is daylight, in a high traffic area that everybody's seeing. I honestly think the coalition needs to do some more one-on-one on that, in that area, on that street, and try to find some housing for these folks or help clean up the area.
Absolutely.
This isn't hidden in the woods. These aren't people with setting up camps. Well, they might have camps in the woods, but they're obviously out in the open. So I think they need to be traversing that area on a regular basis.
We will get them with them on a priority this week.
I think they really should. That's my opinion. But
Mr. Chairman?
go ahead, Commissioner.
So I'm wondering if it's possible that we could place a deputy there in one of those homes. Lots of times having a deputy and the car there, if one's willing. We do it in the parks. And I was also thinking about that for Green Key Beach. I mean, I think that could help be a deterrent, and I would vote for funding to go towards putting a trailer or something there as quick as possible. If we could find someone who's willing to live there.
I will tell you, and I don't know if this is actually one of our code enforcement people that actually was thinking about if you could get a home there, he'd go do it, so I can bring that down the road. I won't mention by name, but I think that would be a good thing.
I would do code enforcement and a police officer.
That's fine.
A sheriff's deputy.
I'm with you all the way.
How many more? I have one item I need to vote on before break if I can, but how many items do you have?
I do have a few, so if you want to just do your item, make sure you get
Yeah,
it in,
just
that's fine.
because for a timing thing, they can
Yeah.
get, and I'll come back to the rest if you don't mind.
No worries,
So-
yeah.
All right, and I'll hold. I'm actually gonna do two, okay? Because they're both,
Yeah,
if
that's
you don't
fine.
mind, just real quick. No, I appreciate it. So the first one, I'll ask the commissioners, as you know, the Wiregrass Ranch Sports Complex is opening later this year. We have some media hard hat tours that are coming up in the next few days. And with that, I have a request from our private operator, Rad Sports, to officially change the name in the agreement to Wiregrass Ranch Sports Campus of Pasco County. If you're familiar with the agreement, it needed to include Wiregrass Ranch, and it needed to include Pasco County. It being called a complex, but their thought is, and I would agree with them, that campus sounds better for that, and this was going to allow them to put the signage out. So after speaking with them, I'm definitely fully supportive of that change. I also reached out to the Wiregrass Ranch folks. They're in agreement too, so we don't have any, everybody's on board. So if I can get a motion for that.
I'll make that motion.
Can we get a motion to move the emergency first?
Motion to hear the emergency?
Move to hear the emergency.
I have a motion, I have a second, all in favor? Aye. And then if I give a motion to approve that.
Move the name Move the name change.
Okay, have a second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you. Last one. As you know, we have an EMS advisory board. So if I could ask one of my commissioners to please appoint Dr. Todd Yontek. I'm sure some of you know Dr. Yontek well. He is an emergency room physician at Advent Health of Wesley Chapel. Great guy, veteran, USF grad for all you USF people out there, but he's very, very well known in the community. He's going to be a great addition to that EMS advisory board.
Move approval.
Have a
Same
motion.
thing, move the emergency. And
Move
you
the
can,
motion.
you can combine it, move the emergency and approve.
Okay, a motion to move the emergency.
Second emergency.
Okay, and then we can add the motion to that to move the emergency.
Motion to accept him on the advisory board.
Okay, thank you. So, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, same side. Thank you very much, I appreciate it. Back to you, Commissioner Mariano.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for that.
Nope, my pleasure. I want to say kudos to staff. They have been working on the Country Club Estates paving project. The pipes are in the ground. They look like they did a phenomenal job. In Beacon Woods, they're doing some cleanup right now, and I think, Mike, you can tell me better, that crew from Beacon Woods, when they finish there, they may be heading up the street to go clean out in Country Club Estates as well.
I don't know offhand, but
Okay.
I'll report that.
They're doing a great job in Beacon Woods, where we put those 3 giant pipes in Majestic when it broke down a few years ago. They're cleaning out on the upside of it, which is phenomenal work, Mike. Really digging it all out, and I think they'll take care of the lower side just as well, so they're doing a great job up there. I'm going to wait to talk about Inn in the Gulf when we get back from break, because that might take a little bit of time, but I did tell the county attorney's office as well as our administrator and that I wanted to talk about that issue. The Lynx Golf Course, Jeff, that's still on schedule for next month to come back to us? Back over here?
Introduction.
Yes.
It will be at your probably your second February meeting.
Okay. And the Tempe Bay Resiliency Coalition had their big event that I left to early in the last board meeting. It was a phenomenal turnout. The room was packed. Discussions were good. I think it's going to lead to a lot of good things where we can actually work to building along the coast, which I think is critical for West Pasco, which is all of Pasco, to go forward. So a lot of good discussions were made there. Janet Long did a phenomenal job coordinating it. Staff had some great presentations. Commissioner Starkey made it down too, and I think we're pretty pleased with what we saw.
Yeah, absolutely.
And well, I'm gonna cut it there. We'll just talk the rest. I'll talk about it after the afternoon meeting. Yeah, we're at noon time, so.
All right, we're adjourned to lunch.
All right, thank you.
Okay, good afternoon. I'd like to call back to order the Pasco County Board of County Commission meeting for January 21st, 2020. If I can remind everybody to please silence your cellular devices at this time. Thank you. We're going to move on with our public hearings. We will now proceed with the public hearing agenda, starting with item P1, which is our ordinances. Madam Clerk, do we have proof for item P1?
We do. Tampa Bay Times, January 10th, 2020.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
this
sir.
is an ordinance by the Pasco County Board of County Commissioners relating to campaign ethics, amending Chapter 115, Article 1, entitled Ethical Campaign Practices of the Pasco County Code of Ordinances, providing for applicability, defining the term candidate, providing for voluntary participation in ethical campaign practices, requiring the filing of an executed statement within the specified time period, providing for a statement of ethical campaign practices, creating a new Section 115-8, solicitation of voters, providing for modification, repealer, severability, inclusion into Pasco County Code, and providing for an effective date. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, this ordinance has been on the books since approximately 2006. The Supervisor of Elections requested that certain amendments be made.
We went through those, mainly it's to the Statement of Ethical Campaign Practices. We went through those changes at introduction. It adds a new section regarding the use of amplified devices outside of polling places. And I will let Mr. Supervisor go over the details.
Yes, we will bring up the Supervisor Elections. Brian Corley, normally I give 3 minutes, but I'll give you 30 seconds.
I'll talk fast. I'll talk fast, Mr. Chairman.
I'm just teasing.
Good afternoon, Mr.
You
Chairman,
have 3 minutes.
Commissioners. As Mr. Steinsnyder eloquently stated, Agenda Item P1 augments the existing Pasco County Ethical Campaign Practices Act by updating it. The original ordinance has been used for 14 years now. It incorporates language that speaks to civility in the public discourse for candidates running for office within Pasco County. In essence, this ordinance is a plea for civility, if you will, amongst those running for office in our great county. It's not solely at my request, but more importantly, rather something the voters not only want but deserve and have asked for many times to me personally. Many voters have relayed that they tire of the toxicity and a lack of decorum among campaigns and candidates. So that's what's the driving force behind this. The amendments, or augmentations, if you will, add to, or pertain rather to, asking candidates to remain positive and avoid criticizing their opponent in a personal nature, avoiding language that is insulting or inappropriate. Of course, now it includes social media and not using or permitting campaign materials that falsifies, distorts, or misrepresents facts. Remember, there was no Twitter and Facebook in 2006. Lastly, as the county attorney referenced, it speaks to not using amplified devices. That stems from 2016, where we had voters complain they had to endure a certain campaign using a bullhorn, and it was rather disruptive, and they were annoyed at it, and nothing could be done. Well, by you all adopting this now, that'll certainly change that. So while this is voluntary, the statement of campaign practices that candidates sign, hundreds, literally hundreds of candidates have signed this going back 14 years now. And certainly while it does not prevent a candidate from being less than truthful or being nasty during their campaign, it is my hope that each candidate going forward will spend their energy and resources running a positive campaign and join us in the goal of restoring and maintaining civility in the public discourse. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. I ask for your favorable support, and I'd be happy to answer any questions y'all have.
Thank you, Mr. Corley. Any questions or comments? Well, thankfully, I'm not having to run this year, so I don't have to worry about being lambasted by my opponent this time around, right?
Well, you can be nice every day. You can be civil every day.
They should be, right?
Yes.
Thank you. It's not mine. Any questions, any comments? Commissioner Starkey?
I think my mic is turned off. I would just say that I have no objection to sign anything that says civility and good behavior should be in order. And I appreciate that you're addressing a problem that's happened where we couldn't address it, and that's with inappropriate things being yelled out front on microphones, and not necessarily about us, but in other people's, campaigns. This is a, early voting place for all different campaigns, and it has nothing, in my mind, to do with incumbency, but it has to do with decorum and decency.
Any other questions, comments? Yes, sir, Commissioner Mariano.
I'm sure you heard or saw the comments from Randy Evans. What were your thoughts on what he said?
Mr. Evans didn't reach out to me, so I didn't have any discussions with him. I kind of wish he had, to be honest with you. You're either for civility or not for civility with this ordinance. It can't be one or the other. So you, by supporting this ordinance, simply are asking all candidates, regardless of party. This is above partisanship. Clearly, it's, as Commissioner Starkey eloquently stated, it's asking to have some decorum among all candidates. I don't know how you could possibly be against that, to be honest with you. But again, I was not contacted by Randy. I'd love to sit down and talk to him and educate him on the merits of this good ordinance.
And it's,
Commissioner Starkey?
Yeah, sorry. It's my understanding, they do this, and all the counties do this. This happens very frequently.
You mean promoting civility?
Yes, yes.
Well,
doing signing this. Have you ever had a candidate not sign it?
Not to my knowledge. I was thinking about that this morning. I don't believe I've had one.
Yeah, so. And it doesn't inhibit anyone's free speech, and from what I could see. And we would never want to do that.
No, ma'am. Be unconstitutional.
And it's kind of a guideline, but not a hard, fast rule.
As I said earlier, it's a plea. It's asking candidates to join us in restoring civility, because voters are tired of all the negativity, and again, it doesn't prohibit anyone from going down that road, but we would ask them to not. Again, it's their choice.
Yeah, so just for the record too, if I'm not correct, Mr. Corley, is that you're asking candidates to sign this. Obviously, it can't be required of them. They're allowed to sign, by law, by statute, there's certain documents they have to sign. They would not have to sign this. You're just asking them to be on board.
That's correct.
Okay. Other questions, comments? Okay, with that, I'll entertain a motion.
You have
Well, you don't have.
Oh, okay, sorry.
opposition?
We will have public comment on this. Anybody in the audience like to speak to this item at this time? Seeing none, it's back to the
Move
board.
approval.
Second.
This is a roll call vote, so
You have a hand up.
that's a little late, but did you want to say something?
You have
Now
to
you need to go to the you have to go to the podium. Name and address for the record, please.
I'm Christine Bright. Can you hear me? I have a soft voice.
We can hear you very
And
well.
this speaker is wanting to
If
do
you
its
turn
own
that,
thing.
if you turn it like this,
That's good.
there you
Okay.
go.
Thank you very much.
You got it.
I'm Christine Bright. My address is 5109 Connor Drive, Land O'Lakes, Florida. And I'm the chair of the Pasco unit of the League of Women Voters. And I just wanted to stand here today and say that the members of the leagues strongly support ordinances which promote civility in our political campaigns. We're very concerned about the erosion of civility, and I'm just here to support the amendment.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Okay, I have a motion and a second, again, being a roll call vote. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
District 1, Commissioner Oakley.
Aye.
District 3, Commissioner Starkey.
Aye.
District 4, Commissioner Wells.
Aye.
District 5, Commissioner Mariano.
Aye.
District 2, Chairman Moore.
Aye, motion passes 5-0. Thank you. On to P2, ordinance by the Pasco County Commissioners. Well, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and call you guys up and you want to go up here and come up and read it, Christie? Or are you going to stay down there?
Would you prefer me up here?
Well, I think for the camera's sake, you probably should be up at the podium. Thank you.
So while she's making her way to the podium, I'll read the pub. It was published in the Tampa Bay Times, December 4th, 2019.
Thank you.
Christy Sims with the County Attorney's Office. I also have a soft voice.
Yes. Yeah, right.
This is an ordinance by the Board of County Commissioners establishing within the unincorporated areas of Pasco County a registry/real property registration system for vacant and rental properties, providing for definitions, requiring registration of vacant properties and rental properties, providing registration process and requirements, providing for severability, providing for inclusion in the Pasco County Code of Ordinances, and providing for an effective date. Commissioners, the version that you have in front of you today for final adoption includes the changes that I described to you during the last board meeting, which were changes that I made to the ordinance after a series of meetings, emails, and phone calls with various subject matter experts in the real estate industry and property management industry. After making those changes, I have not, I've received a few questions regarding clarification, et cetera, but I have not received any negative feedback regarding the current version of the ordinance that's before you for adoption. So after hearing public comment, the County Attorney's Office would ask you to adopt the ordinance by roll call vote, authorize the chairman's signature on the ordinance, and direct board records to transmit the ordinance to the Department of State by electronic mail within 10 days after adoption of the ordinance.
Thank you, Ms. Sims. This is well, first of all, any comments or questions from the board before I take public comment?
Well, I'm just really glad we've arrived at this day, and appreciate working with the sheriff. I see he's here back there. And this is really important to the constituents in Pasco County that we take care of this problem. I don't know if this will get us all the way to where I think we need to be, but I think this is a great first step. I myself have received some positive emails from people out in the industry, and I look forward to getting this implemented.
1 minute, please.
Well, could you ask the sheriff to speak?
Well, can I let her finish?
Okay.
I'm done.
Well, she's done.
For now.
Okay. Anything else from the board at this time, before I call anybody else up? Okay, Sheriff Knuckle, you have anything you'd like to say, sir?
Good afternoon. Thank you, Chair.
Good afternoon.
Thank Commissioner Wells and Commissioner Starkey. Honestly, they've been very strong advocates pushing us forward. Christie and the Attorney's Office have been fantastic. It's been a long process getting here, but I think we have a product that is very, very good. And I wish Corley stuck around, because lack of civility brings situations like this. We have to do something like this. And honestly, the unspoken people that are out there, the silent majority, who live around houses that are causing crime, causing grief, causing issues in their neighborhood where they can't sleep at night, they can't let their kids out at night, this is something that will help them bring back their neighborhood. So on behalf of them, I want to say thank you very much.
Great. Thank you so much, sir. We appreciate your support and help. Again, this is a public hearing. I did see one hand raised, but I don't have anybody signed up. If you'd like to speak to this item, please come to the podium at this time. And I would ask you to state your name and record, or name and address for the record, I should say. Good morning, or good afternoon.
Good afternoon. My name is Stephen Riddell. I live at 21221 Cully Rosa Drive in Land O'Lakes. My concerns are snowbirds. What's the definition of vacant? Vacant, according to the ordinance, where did it go? Shall mean any parcel of land zoned or used for residential use in unincorporated Pasco County that is not lawfully occupied by a person, whether such parcel contains a structure or building. Snowbirds could be gone from up to 6 months, 2-3 months. This ordinance is supposed to start in after 60 days. So what does vacancy mean? Is a snowbird a vacant property? So that's sort of one of the questions. And there's a lot of seniors that are snowbirds that if you still have to be registered, there's a burden possibly on the cost of a real estate agent because they have to be a property manager. That's it. What's the definition of vacant?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Next, please.
Christie.
Christie, let me finish public comment, and then
Yeah.
we'll go into that. Thank you. I'll let him go, and then he's... Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Joe Farrell, 2009 Osprey Lane. I'm here on behalf of the Central Pasco Association of Realtors, and I want to say thank you to Commissioner Wells and to Christy Sims for, first Commissioner Wells reaching out to us and bringing this issue to our attention, and then working with Christy's office and Christy specifically. Also, Mike Peterson with the Greater Tampa Realtors worked real hard on this as well. And I think this is one of those times where you have an industry, the property management industry, which survives on slim margins. More regulation has come into their industry, and I think in a lot of ways it's going to make it better and it won't affect their profitability. We wholeheartedly support this ordinance. We do have one thing that we don't believe should hold up today, but we do have a request for the future. We'll be working with Christy on this, is some kind of public-facing information document that we can disseminate to our membership and realtors throughout the community and property management folks so that they can get up to speed on this as fast as possible. There's going to be kind of a public information campaign that we're going to need to do, and we look forward to working with them. But just want to say thank you to everyone and say that this is a pretty good ordinance, and we look forward to working with it. Thank you
so much. Appreciate it.
Thanks for your help.
We have one person further signed up on this item, Mr. David P. Cruz.
Good afternoon.
My name is David Cruz, 6611 Carnation Way, Port Richey. I just wanted to speak in affirmative of this because I feel that it'll bring back property values that have decreased over the years that I've seen over the 40-some-odd years that I've been around here in Pasco County. The one thing that I'm concerned about is the fact that there are some of these vacant properties that are supposedly bank-owned, and whether or not they're maintaining these properties up to the condition they should be, because you know, the value of the homes in the areas of some of these homes that are supposed to be already maintained is not being maintained to the level of the rest of the community around it. And you know, I've seen a number of things happen, of course, as the sheriff spoke about with legal matters, because we had a home close by in our neighborhood which was a rental property, but the electric was turned off to that property and 2 homes were being run by car batteries, which exploded and took out the 2 homes. So, you know, I believe that this is a good ordinance, and it should be put in place and also should have perfect enforcement. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cruz. I will call one last time. Would anybody else like to speak to this item? Seeing none. Christie?
I did have an opportunity to speak to Mr. Riddell, the first commenter, who had the question about the snowbirds, and he and I discussed the difference between vacant and unoccupied. And if you look at the insurance industry and your policy, there's a difference between a vacant house and an unoccupied house, and I explained to him that that's how the ordinance would be implemented. If a house is unoccupied by a snowbird, it doesn't necessarily make it vacant under this ordinance. So that's just an implementation issue that I'll be working through with the sheriff's office as those questions come up. Mr. Riddell had explained to me that he lives in a condo, and we had figured out that based on the size of his condominium, that would not trigger the registration requirements for him. And he had also expressed concern to me about seniors who maybe can't afford a licensed property manager. And I explained that since he wouldn't be subject to registration of the ordinance, that wouldn't be a concern for snowbirds who are leaving their properties unoccupied but are still not vacant under the ordinance. Speaking of property managers, in the course of this process, I have come to understand that a separate ordinance duplicating the state law requiring licensing for property managers will be something that will be very helpful, and that's something that I'm going to bring back to you separately. And just so you know, I've also had a conversation with our foreclosure registry vendor and explained that this is a separate set of regulations, that their contract and what they're doing is still in place, and it's not triggered by vacancy or rental. That's triggered by the filing of a lis pendens or a foreclosure complaint. And the attorney for our vendor and I are on the same page regarding the fact that that doesn't have anything to do with this. So.
Good. Thank you, Christie. And I appreciate it. I mean, personally myself, I had a condo at one time. It was outside the county. I had a property manager that took care of that. It was, to me, it was very affordable, but it was also that peace of mind that I knew, listen, my local taxes were being paid. I get a 1099, and they were snowbirds that typically, quote, snowbirds that usually came anywhere from December to March. I think it was definitely a benefit to have that, and well worth the cost. And I would think it would be, especially for people that are not in the area, it's definitely worth the investment.
Well, I know I speak on behalf of the sheriff's office. Chase and I have discussed this, that people who are not going to occupy their residence for a significant amount of time, it would be to their benefit to sign a trespass agreement. So the sheriff's office knows if anybody is supposed to be in there, who that person is, et cetera. So, I mean, it's optional, but we consider it to be a benefit to the property owner that the sheriff's office is providing for free.
I would agree. I think I saw Commissioner Mariano's hand up. Yes.
Yeah, I'd like to say, Chris, you've done a great job in this ordinance. I know we first started this, Commissioner Stark, I think you first brought it up with Newport Richey doing it and how we should look at it, and I know there were some hiccups that we're looking at, but I know from meeting with the sheriff and his team to say, you know what, this is why this benefits us. From that, I think we're all been on board. Commissioner Wells, your cooperation with the Realtors Association, which, all those in the industry, I think getting them to the table from having a big problem with it. I think this ordinance has evolved in a very positive way every step of the way. It's going to benefit not only the citizens of the county and all those that live in neighborhoods, but our first responders as well. So I think a job well done.
Yeah, great. I agree with that. And one of the things, and I appreciate you working, obviously, with the realtor organizations, everybody that has. Christie, I know Commissioner Wells, you have recently too. I think this ordinance, in addition to everything we've talked about, I think what we also found out what it's going to do is keep out the unlicensed property managers too. And I don't think that's something we really thought that much about previous to having these discussions. And, come to find out, there are quite a few properties that are being managed possibly by unlicensed, which means people without a real estate license, these properties. So I think it's also going to help push some of those unlicensed folks out. We're big on the unlicensed contractor program, and the last thing we want to do is have people practicing business that don't have the proper license. So I think this is definitely going to be a benefit to that too. Commissioner Starkey.
I want to say, the idea didn't come from me. It came from my constituents who I, meet with at my HOA meetings and my Harbor South Leadership Council meetings. There's a, especially large problem in southwestern Pasco County with these kind of issues. So it was those constituents who brought this request forward.
Did you have anything else to follow up with, Commissioner Wells?
No, Commissioner Starkey's right. I mean, in the last 2 weeks, I've gotten 15 or 20 emails from constituents saying, thank you for getting here. Obviously, I think we can look at, it's a touchy thing. We don't want to overregulate, but we want to get out of the way. And, but I tell you, it's Christie, the sheriff's office, his team, and again, the stakeholders, from residents to all the realtors, getting here today, doing it. It's the right thing. It's going to increase values. It's going to help life safety. It's going to help the entire team from code to the sheriff to be on the same page, from minimum housing with Christie and what you all do. So it's a very positive, and I appreciate Commissioner Starkey and appreciate the board being on board to get this through. And thank you again, Jeff, for your team helping us get it through so quickly. So thank you.
Excellent. This is a roll call vote, but I need a motion and a second.
So moved.
Second. Second. Roll call, please.
District 1, Commissioner Oakley.
Aye.
District 3, Commissioner Starkey.
Aye.
District 4, Commissioner Wells.
Aye.
District 5, Commissioner Mariano.
Aye.
District 2, Chairman Moore.
Aye. Motion passes 5-0. Thank you. One sec here. Okay. P3. Okay. Okay. Next, we're going to go ahead and move with the procedures for rezonings. Mr. County Attorney, if you could review the procedures for rezonings.
I'll be happy to, Mr. Chairman. There are 2 rezoning agendas, regular and consent. Staff will present each application to the Board of County Commissioners. If staff or Planning Commission has recommended approval and there's no opposition, the application will be considered by the board without further presentation. If the staff or Planning Commission has recommended denial, or if there is opposition to the application, the applicant will be given 5 minutes for presentation. The opposition will be given 3 minutes for each individual or 5 minutes for a group representative, and the applicant will be given 3 minutes for rebuttal. Any individual disagreeing with staff or Planning Commission recommendation or anyone wishing to object to any condition of the rezoning may at this time request the petition be pulled from the consent agenda, in which case that application will be heard under the regular agenda later on during the meeting. Otherwise, all rezoning applications on the consent agenda will be approved by a single motion and vote. If you wish to speak to any petition, please give your name and address and whether or not you've been sworn for the record. These are quasi-judicial public hearings. The law in Florida is that mere public support or opposition of an application is insufficient for this board to take action. Please limit your comments to those criteria found within the board's land development code.
Thank you. And if you're here to speak to any of the items on the public hearing agenda, I need you to please stand and be sworn in by the clerk. If you're going to speak to any of these items, I need you to stand and be sworn in. I see a couple of people hesitating. I will allow you a moment to think about it. Again, going once. If you don't stand up, you don't get to speak. Yeah, see how that works? Okay. All right, Madam Clerk.
All right, please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, so help you God? Thank you.
Excellent, thank you. Ms. Hernandez, I have 11 public hearing items on the consent agenda today. This item will be approved by one vote without a presentation unless there is someone here in objection. Items P5 to P15 are on the consent agenda. Madam Clerk, do we have proof? And you can group proof for all, please.
Okay. I'm going to include proof for P3 and P4, even though they are continued and withdrawn. Item P3, Tampa Bay Times, November 29th, 2019. Item P4, Tampa Bay Times, August 16th, 2019, and August 23rd, 2019. Item P5, Tampa Bay Times, December 27th, 2019. Item P6, Tampa Bay Times, December 27th, 2019. Item P7, Tampa Bay Times, December 27th, 2019. Item P8, Tampa Bay Times, December 20th, 2019. Item P9, Tampa Bay Times, December 20th, 2019. Item P10, Tampa Bay Times, December 5th, 2019. Item P11, Tampa Bay Times, January 8th, 2020. Item P12, Tampa Bay Times, December 12th, 2019. Item P13, Tampa Bay Times, December 12th, 2019. Item P14, Tampa Bay Times, December 12th, 2019. Item P15, Tampa Bay Times, December 30th, 2019.
Ms. Hernandez, it is your show.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioners, Denise Hernandez, Planning and Development. We're going to do item P3, and then we're going to do item P16 right after P3. Item P3 is PDD 20 CU 11 in the name of Hajka and Mirsad Kusevich, and it's for multiple family dwellings in a C2 district. This item is being continued to a date uncertain.
Thank you.
Move to continue time uncertain.
Second.
Okay, we're going to motion in a second. All in favor? Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Thank you.
Item P16 is PDD 207436. It's in the name of Evans Covington MPUD, Master Plan Unit Development District, Evans Properties, Inc., rezoning from AC Agricultural to an MPUD, Master Plan Unit Development District. This is a request for continuance to the 2/4/2020 Board of County Commissioners meeting at 1:30 p.m. in Dade City. This was advertised as a regular, so you may want to call for public comment.
Yeah, for on P16, I will call for public comment. Just be aware, if you speak today on this item, you will not be speaking at the next hearing on this item. Anybody like to speak? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to continue this item.
Move to continue.
Second.
A motion to continue. Second, all in favor? Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Thank you.
Item P4 is FAC 200018. It's in the name of Long Lake Reserve Community Development District and MI Homes of Tampa, Leonard Road, for a petition to vacate. This item is being withdrawn.
I have questions.
Okay, I have discussions.
What, are we not going to put a sidewalk and trail there, or what's going on? I sent an email to the administrator, but I didn't hear back. I'm concerned if we're taking away a trail that was planned for the community. So there's no backstory here with me, and it's my district, so.
I mean,
Terry, do you
you
know?
emailed me 2 hours ago. I have not had a chance to get an answer
Yeah.
yet.
This would be real estate's processing of a vacation, so.
Are we denying it, or?
No,
Okay.
it's
They're
being
withdrawing
withdrawn. They're no longer asking for the
Well, I'd
right.
like to meet with staff to understand what's going on in that community.
Okay,
to
if
make
you guys
sure-
could meet with Commissioner Starkey on
Thank
this
you.
issue, we'd appreciate it. Thank you. P4 is withdrawn. P5.
P5 PDD 27457 in the name of Teresa M. Christensen for a change in zoning from an AR Agricultural Residential District to an R2 Low Density Residential District. Comes to you with a recommendation of approval from the Planning and Development Department and the Planning Commission.
All right, does anybody oppose this item? Seeing none, I believe on consent.
Item P6 is conditional use, PDD 20CU14, in the name of Grand Oak Square LLC, Arepa Mia Cafe, for the sale of alcoholic beverages, beer and wine only, on-premises consumption, in conjunction with the operation of a restaurant in a C2. Comes to you with a recommendation of approval with conditions from PDD and the Planning Commission.
Anybody here to speak in opposition to this item? Seeing none, move on consent.
We're going to move on now to item P11 because it has to be heard before item P7.
Yes.
Item P11 is PDD 20301 in the name of Mishram Gold Properties, the Grove of Wesley Chapel. It's a waiver of the specific distance limitation of 1,000 feet from a church and church school for conditional use of consideration. Comes to you with a recommendation of approval.
Anybody here speaking to opposition to P11? Seeing none, leave on consent, and we'll go back to P7.
P7, PDD 20CU15, Mishram Gold Properties, LP, the Grove at Wesley Chapel, for the sale of beer, wine, and liquor, package sales, and on-premises consumption in conjunction with the operation of a shopping center in a master plan unit development district. Comes to you with recommendation of approval with conditions from PDD and the Planning Commission.
Anybody here to speak in opposition to this item? Seeing none, leave on consent.
Item P8 is PDD 200231. This is CPAL 1914, Pittman, Massey, Jordan. Transmittal of proposed large-scale comprehensive plan amendment to the future land use map 2-13 rural area, removing the Pittman, Massey, Jordan parcels from the rural area. Today, we're asking you to authorize transmittal of the comp plan amendment to the Florida Department of Economic Opportunity and other reviewing agencies.
Anybody here to speak in opposition to this item? Seeing none, leave on consent.
P9 is PDD 20-0234. This is an ordinance amending the Pasco County Land Development Code, Section 604, Northeast Pasco Rural Protection Overlay District, Figure 6041, Northeast Pasco Rural Overlay Protection District Boundary, 604-2, Northeast Pasco Rural Scenic Roadways, Figure 6044, limits to topographic alterations and other sections as necessary for internal consistency. Today, we ask that you accept public comment, and there's no action by the board. This is set for adoption on March 3rd, 2020, at 1:30 in Dade City.
Time out, 1 sec, please.
So Denise, the heading of this is transmittal.
The heading is incorrect. This LDC amendment does not get transmitted to the DE.
Right. Okay.
This is first reading on the change to the Land Development Code. It does have a companion item, which is P8, but that's the change to the comp plan.
So this should have been an ordinance title in the beginning of this agenda.
That's correct.
I've got some concerns about whether it's been advertised correctly. You may have to start over on this one. But we can figure that out. Since it doesn't require action, take public comment and we'll figure it out.
So let's pull that item. We'll take public comment on that item
Well,
after the remaining.
Is there anybody here to object to this item?
We don't want to pull it? Okay.
No, but just
Is that?
Okay. You want to leave it on then?
You'll check it out.
leave it on consent. It may have to, we may have to go through the process again. It may not come back to you at the next hearing, but
Okay.
for all intents and purposes, if you don't have public opposition, it
Okay.
can stay on.
So nobody's here to
consent.
speak to this item? All right, leave on consent then. P10.
PDD 20-0272, this is CPL 2001 JDR Investments. This is a large-scale comprehensive plan amendment to the future land use map 2-15 and sheet 16, changing from ROR Retail Office Residential to IL Light Industrial. This comes to you with recommendation of, actually, this is also a transmittal. This is a transmittal to the Department of Economic Opportunity and other reviewing agencies. That's the recommendation.
Thank you. Anybody here to speak in opposition to this item? It's P10. Seeing none, leave on consent. Going on to P12.
P12. Sorry, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. You guys will figure it out.
Oh, yours is P12. Okay, thanks.
Good afternoon, Inza Calder, Public Works. This is P12 Shipwatch Drive, PVAS number 3367.
So, sir, on P12, I have somebody that signed up for P12. Where's that person at that signed up for P12? Okay, so we're going to have to pull that off consent. and
She's
we'll
in
come-
support of it.
Well,
I
still.
have some questions.
Well, hold on, time out.
I'm
Everybody,
sorry.
time out.
Sorry.
All right? If she wants to speak to this item, I have to pull it,
Okay.
okay? She does not want to speak to this item, even though she signed up to speak, okay? Commissioner Starkey, if you have questions on this item, I got to pull it.
I do. Please pull
Okay,
it.
All right, I'm pulling it. We'll come back to that. P13.
P13, Orchid Lake Village, Unit number 6, PVAS number 3378.
Okay, anybody like to speak in opposition to this item? That's P13. Seeing none, leave on consent.
P14, Baywood Forest, PVAS number 3380.
P14, I have someone signed up for P14. If you want to speak in opposition to this item, you do want to speak in opposition, pull P14. We'll come back to that. Now we're going back to P15. P15's on consent.
Streetlights.
Okay. P15 is Holiday Lakes West Streetlight Service Area, the adoption of a rate increase.
Okay, so P15, is anybody here to speak in opposition to P15? Anybody here to speak to opposition to P15? Seeing none, leave on consent. I will take a motion to approve all consent items except for P12 and P14. I have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. P12, back up.
That's Ainsley.
All right, so go ahead and give your report, and then I had somebody that wants to speak to this item. And then there's questions from the board. We'll go from there. So let me start signing stuff.
That's interesting.
Oh, look at that.
A lot of them.
Nice.
You organize it?
Oops. Okay, this is P12, and it's Shipwatch Drive, PVAS project. All right, got it. The project is one street. It's county maintained. It's paved. The estimated cost is $90,738. The maximum cost per ERU is $4,605.99. The discounted amount is $18,934.49. The cost per ERU after the discount is $3,704. Of 23 possible votes, there were 18 responses. There were 14 in favor of the project and 4 were against the project. This project would be over a 10-year period, interest rate at 5%. And this is where Shipwatch Drive is located. It's off Strawberry Memorial Highway. And I have a couple of photographs of the road condition.
Thank you, Ainsley. So I do have people signed up for this item. One person, Madam Clerk.
Do we do the commissioners' discussion first or public comment first?
Can I do public comment on this one?
Okay.
Thank you.
Renee, is it Geismer?
It's P12. Yes, ma'am. Name and address for the record, please.
3137 Shipwatch Drive. I don't have any objection. I just have we attended the January 9th workshop, and we discovered that our property is being charged for 2 ERUs. We have been in touch with Mr. Caldwell during this process and had spoken to Commissioner Starkey. We're just asking to be considered for relief of payment of 2 ERUs versus 1. We did provide the deed restrictions for our Sand Bay Home Division, saying that only 1 dwelling per lot is allowed for our property. Therefore, I just wanted to make it as a record and bring it up again, that we please just be considered for the assessment of 1 ERU versus the 2.
Thank you, ma'am.
Don't leave the mic.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, thank you for your comments. Well, let me just ask if there's anybody else here to speak to this item, P12, seeing none. Commissioner Starkey?
Could you put the map up, please? And if you heard the word Strawberry, that's because this is the neighborhood that borders where the clearing happened, and now people are walking in the street, right?
Right.
So this PVAS illustrates a problem that I think we have with our PVAS program. So see the ones in blue?
Yeah.
For example, they can only access their neighborhood up Shipwatch Drive, but they are being assessed at 50%. See the property, and there is a fence behind them, and in the deed restrictions, it says they can't take down the fence, and that can be their only access. So in my opinion, that's a problem with our process. The other problem I have in our process is what Renee has brought up, and Renee and I have known each other for years, is that her home can only have 1 ERU, but we assessed them as 2. So that means the county's going to eat the other ERU. And I watched this happen in Aristida when, for some reason, when you look it up, some of the lots have 4 ERUs, but our deed restrictions say you only can have 1 house per lot. So we need to be looking at deed restrictions before we divide up the ERUs. And then the very strange thing here, and this is where I want our attorney to chime in here, and it's probably too late for this one, but see that green piece?
Yes.
They access their property through the, is it Griesmer or Geismer? I don't remember. Griesmer's property with a easement. So they also only can use Shipwatch Drive to access their property. But they're only paying 25%. So I don't understand that. But I think it's some technicality that we have in our policy. I don't,
Where's her lot?
do you want to answer that? The green one's in the back. I don't.
That's hers, the green?
No, her lot
so
is the
Ainsley-
one that touches the green. Okay, then you have the lot to the right, which was combined, right? It's, I don't know how many acres there are, but they don't have a house on there, right? They knocked the house down, but they can have X amount of ERUs, but I don't think they added the other piece of land to that one. That's the Mickler property. So I'm not sure if that was added in to this when their gate is from that traffic circle. But I especially am concerned about the three houses on Sand Bay and the green property.
So let me bring Ainsley back up.
Yeah.
Sorry, ma'am, if you don't mind. I think we're good with you. Thank you so much. We appreciate it.
With regards to the properties at the corner of Strawberry Memorial and Shipwatch, we found nothing in the deed restriction preventing them from having a secondary access. However, resident brought to our attention that the HOA restricted to only one house. And this is why the difference is there. We did look at the deed restrictions.
Okay, but not the HOA rules.
This is a HOA rule. With regards to the green property, it's considered non-contiguous. It does not touch the existing improvement, unlike the other properties there on Shipwatch. They're assessed at 25%.
But Ainsley,
So-
wouldn't you say the easement touches the property? The Shipwatch Drive?
Yes, but the ordinance says, based on its location and the distance, it is non-contiguous.
So I
There's no
think that needs
direct-
to be adjusted. What do y'all think? Because they're wondering, why does the doctor get to drive on their road and not pay for it? And he drives the most on the road.
Okay. Ainsley, I mean, that's, I guess the question, is that the person's only access?
Yes, sir.
So what's the answer to the question if, why
The-
would?
As per the ordinance, the lot is considered non-contiguous. It's not touching or butting the improvements. But since they have to use it, it's at 25%.
But wouldn't
We've
you,
had situations before that, and I remember this, we've had battles, kind of to Commissioner Starkey's statement she made, where people have land, they're paying full for all the ERUs, and they don't even have access to the road because they have a fence behind it. So we ding them for the entire PVAS. Now, this one, this person uses it, like Commissioner Starkey stated, as their only, I guess you could say, ingress, egress to their home, and they get a discount where everybody else is paying. Yeah, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, I would agree.
and Ainsley, I'm not saying this against you. I understand you're following the rules. I just saying I think we need to tweak these rules ASAP because this is not right.
I wouldn't disagree. Commissioner Mariano.
Yeah, I'd agree. It's definitely a loophole in the situation if it can be tightened up. I mean, I don't think it happens that often. First I've seen of it happen like this, but
That's what I was
something-
gonna say.
it's something you do want to try to plug. I mean, somehow it should be tied to if it's the only access in, maybe we need to tweak the ordinance for that.
So.
Or I
so
would
you're-
say an easement is a driveway. Isn't an easement a driveway? Or you could say easement or driveway.
So these are made, the people, these are set
Yeah.
up for the people that are traversing the road on a daily basis and using this to obviously to get in and out of their neighborhoods, right? Or i.e. their only ingress, egress out of their property. So you have one or two choices you can do right now. You can pass it as is, you can continue it and redo the PVAS.
Oh,
Now,
And that's your option.
actually, you can pass it, or you can start over again, because
That's what I just said, you can redo
new
it.
letters would have to be sent.
That's what I said, you have to redo the whole PVAS.
Yeah,
Process.
but you couldn't be able to continue this, because you've got to start from.
I see, you would have to start, okay.
And I'm-
We
Yeah,
can't, okay.
Mr. Chairman, I'm seeing that my residents don't want to start over, but they did bring to my attention this seeming inequity, and I agree with them. But I
Okay.
think they want their road fixed. So I would move to approve the PVAS, but ask that we fix this so these inequities don't continue.
Second.
I have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, same sign, motion passes, thank you. So, just on that, I hate to keep bringing this issue up. So, and this is good for the future since it was brought up, in reference to, so the deed says one thing, there's TOA, but there's a deed restriction within the HOA. So if you're not allowed to build more than one home per lot, how do we, in the future, in case this were to happen again, how could we research that and do our due diligence before we go through the process?
Well, as I mentioned to Commissioner Starkey at the meeting, we'll have to start looking at the HOA restrictions.
Yeah.
So currently, we look at the deed restrictions on, the deed. So we now have to go and pull the HOA restrictions, go through that, and see if there are any restrictions to the number of dwellings per parcel.
Okay. So, for example, in this situation, as Commissioner Starkey mentioned, since this person's not able to build, so we'll just have to eat the second half of that
Right.
portion of that PVAS then as a county. So it wasn't calculated correctly, and we're going to have to come out of the general fund to pay that difference. Is that correct?
Yes, and I've seen it happen to a much greater number, and I think part of the issue is we do the calculations before we know all the details, and then we get stuck a little bit, so.
Okay. Commissioner Mariano.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, and I'd say there was a situation like this that happened to me on the double lot thing, because my first house I bought in Lakeside Woodlands, the people I bought it from built the house right in the middle of the lot. So unless it was going to be torn down, ripped apart, it was never going to get changed anyway. It should have been one ERU.
That's true.
We did change it, but I think maybe if you can, in the ordinance, give yourself some flexibility to look at situations like that, you can make the call on the spot to say, you know what, in all likelihood, it's not going to get redone, especially with a road paving project again. So give you the flexibility to make that change and make the adjustment.
Okay. And just, Angela, you're following, we know that, we're not getting on you about this. We know you're following the process. We're just giving suggestions on how to tweak it to the betterment for our citizens and our residents in the future. So, thank you, sir. So we did have to pull, I'm getting a lot of 14 too. So go ahead, Mr. Ainsley.
This is speed up the 200028 Baywood Forest, PVAS number 3380. There are 2 streets in this project, county maintained and paved. The total estimated project cost is $225,825. Maximum cost per ERU is $6,201.82. The discounted amount is $53,456.45. The maximum cost per ERU after the discount is $4,901.36.
Thank you, sir. So I did have somebody that raised their hand and signed up for this item, so if that person could come to the podium at this time and state your name and address for the record. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Kathy Proctor, 11345 Blackwood Drive. I just had a couple of questions about how this was handled. Previous years that this was brought up, we were told that if you did not want it to happen, a no vote, you didn't return what is it called, a PVAS? You didn't return the paper. This year was different. We had to return the paper for a no vote. I'm wondering if people who, many of us have lived there for a long time, didn't, and have been against this, didn't realize the change that had taken effect or didn't read it that way. I was also wondering, of the yes and no votes, I know of 2 places there that are empty, and I understand there was no contact made. I'm wondering which side of the aisle they were voted on, and how many petitions were sent out versus the number of returns.
Thank you. So I'll let you have a seat, and then Ainsley will respond to that. Thank you. So that you got.
Yes, sir.
Well, is there anybody else that wants to speak to it before we move on? I didn't see any other hands raised. No, I'll let Ainsley answer that, and then any questions from the board.
We send certified letters to the address that is on the property appraiser's list. In other words, where taxes are sent. There is a statement in the letter that I sent out that makes it clear that if you do not return your vote, it is not a no vote. The decision to move forward and bring it here to the board is based on the number of responses we get back. So in this case, we sent out 42, there were 42 possible votes. Only 26 came back. That is 60% responded to the petition. Of those, 14% 14 or 56% were in favor of the project, and 44% were against the project. This is the results, this is the policy procedure that we follow.
But, Mr. Chairman?
Thank you. So Commissioner Oakley.
Yes, this process he's talking about the votes at return, that's been in force a long time, hasn't it?
Quite a while, sir.
Yeah,
And
I
it's
thought
also
so.
stated in the letter.
Yeah, everybody, if they want to vote, they have to send the paperwork back in.
Yeah.
If they don't, it's calculated on what's returned.
Yes, sir.
So, okay.
So we said that 14 plus, hold on one second. Twenty, 42 possible votes, right?
60%
But only
responded.
25 came back.
25 responded.
Yep. Okay, Commissioner Mariano, did you have anything?
I was just going to say it's always been that you had to turn in your vote to make it count one way or the other. It's
Yes,
never
sir.
been any different than anything I've been across. So I don't know where that information came from, but it's in our policies, it has been. I've never seen it different.
Okay. Any other questions from the board?
I move approval.
I second.
A motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Okay. P17. We have proof.
Yes, we do. P17 was published on November 29th, 2019.
Good afternoon, Denise Hernandez, Planning and Development. Item P17 is PDD 20CU13. It's in the name of Gulf Landings Association, Inc., and it's conditional use for additional parking for a civic club in a R4 high-density residential district. Parcel is located in southwest Pasco County on the northwest corner of Barefoot Court and Seagull Drive. And the parcel consists of a vacant platted Lot 10 of the Gulf Harbor Sea Forest Unit 2A subdivision. Just showing you Article 500 zoning, how this is actually considered a conditional use under 517.3. Parking areas to serve the neighborhood such as, but not limited to, additional parking for civic clubs, parking for parks, playgrounds, and recreation area. This is just showing you the surrounding land use. You've got Res 6 in the area. To the south is Res 24, as that is an apartment area. To the east of the property, as we'll show in the aerial, is the actual Gulf Landings Recreation Center. As you can see in the aerial, the subject parcel has a red star on it. Across the street is the Gulf Landings Recreation Area, which consists of the clubhouse, which is in this section here, which has capacity for approximately 120 guests. And this parking area has capacity for approximately 25 parking spaces. Hence, we're here because there are situations where there is the need to park to attend events that may occur at the Gulf Landings Clubhouse. Additionally, there's a boat ramp out here, tennis courts, and so on and so forth. This is a street view of the subject location. There was a notice of violation from code enforcement, but the applicants are here to bring this item into conformance. A couple of other street views showing the subject parcel and showing the proximity to the parking for the clubhouse and recreation areas. This is their concept plan. Again, one of the conditions does require that they go through a full site plan review. It's just conceptual in nature. Comes to you with a recommendation of approval with conditions. The Planning Commission also did hear some concerns from a resident. As a result of those concerns, the Planning Commission added an additional condition, which is condition number 3, which is that the owner applicant shall install signage stating no overnight parking is that overnight parking is prohibited. I'm here for any questions that you may have on this item.
Thank you. Questions from the board? I know I have people signed up. So.
I'd say, Mr. Chairman, I've been to several meetings out there. The group is very active for only have 25 parking spots for as large as some of these turnouts are be from different dredging meetings and other things out there. It's a good use. Its property is right next door to where it's at, so it's at the end of a street, so it really is not much impact. So I think he's done the Landings has done a good job bringing it forward. And thank you, Denise.
Great, thank you. I do have one person sign up for this item. That would be Madam Clerk.
Al, and last name,
Yeah, you can say it at the podium.
Yeah,
And if
please.
anybody else wants to speak to this item, you can line up at this time.
I think it's Schonert.
Okay, name and address for the record, please.
Gentlemen, before I start my time, I have a motion for filing and receiving.
Okay, what is that?
He's got,
Some photographs that I'd like to share with you,
Okay,
please.
motion-
Move to receive and file.
Okay, motion to receive and file, second, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, same sign, motion passes. To the clerk, please. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can you please state your name and address for the
Yes.
record?
My name is Al Schonert. I live in Gulf Harbors, 4344 Sandella Court.
and you were sworn?
Yes, sir, I have.
You can pause this time.
Okay, I'll start.
No, I was just saying they could pause your time, so you didn't run.
Okay.
All right, I think we're good now, right?
In 2018, this R4 lot was bought by our HOA. Reason given was overflow parking for cars on special events. This very visible corner R4 lot has 100 homeowners, including myself, that drive by this only entry and exit point every day. This lot was later used as a trailer park for boats, trailers, and RVs. Complaints were filed. Lot was shut down by the county due to no permit, including removal of gravel. When you drove by, it looked very trashy and degrading. I have seen boat owners drain their bilge, leaving dirty salt water and oil on gravel. Unfortunately, none of the homeowner association board members live in this area to see how degrading it was. For county requirements for a special permit, the HOA has written down exactly what they propose to do with this lot. Page 2, paragraph 2. Provide additional parking for passenger vehicles when parking spaces in the full-time parking lot are being used for trailer parking by boaters. The HOA request comes with no objection if, in fact, it is to be used as the HOA has specifically specified. Conditional, rare use for special events, occasional parking for passenger vehicles. Without enforceable rules, this R4 lot will become a repeat of last year, allowing daily use for trailers, boats, RVs, etc. Without a sign saying overflow parking for cars only, with 100% certainty, this very visible lot will transition into an ugly trailer lot as it did in the past. Thank you, Chairman Gray, for mentioning a sign last meeting. Page 1, where it is underlined, it is not uncommon to find trailers illegally parked on the grass. If the HOA cannot enforce its own rules, I ask how a 10 p.m. curfew and passenger vehicle only be enforceable. Please look at the photos of said lot. After a rain shower and car movement, it will turn into an unsightly, muddy surface. Adjacent homes will have to endure headlights at night. One photo shows trailers on lot before it was shut down. Another denotes per sign it was intended for vessels. The other photos show current use of the club parking area for trailers and RVs, sometimes parked for days overlapping special club events. It's acceptable since the clubhouse is the clubhouse parking lot. I reluctantly support the HOA request as long as we have assurance from Pasco County anything other than passenger vehicles as the HOA specified will not be permitted. If it is, it will violate the conditional use, be terminated. Keep in mind, the last meeting, HOA lawyers suggested boaters can use this lot for an example during wedding. Chairman Gray said, you can stop this by a sign. Lawyer statement gives credence where this lot may be headed. I ask this board, please protect our entry and property value. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Okay.
Next, please, name and address for the record. Have you been sworn?
I have.
Thank you, sir.
My name is Phil Aston. I live at 5920 Seaside Drive in Newport Richey. I traverse that area daily and have for 30 years by that lot. Pretty much in agreement with my neighbor. One of the issues that I have is, and that has not been addressed that I'm aware of, is that the houses that are adjacent to that lot, I believe that this change in the use of this property could amount to a taking from those owners. I'm not aware of the owners having been in agreement with this, how it affects their property values relative to using it as a storage lot as opposed to the original use, which was for a residential home to be built there. I don't want my homeowners association nor the county to sometime be liable for a taking from those owners. So I think it's a legal question that should be addressed, as well as some of the access questions that were raised relative to the property. With regards to the access to the property, it seems to me that if this is a rare usage of the property, aside from having a sign there, the property could be chained off if it is in fact going to go ahead and be used as an overflow parking. The events don't happen that often, but if it is accessible 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, people are going to use it, put vehicles in there. If it was not accessible except for those times when they need that overflow, it seems that that would address some of the unsightliness problems that have been addressed. Excuse me. But I do have a concern because I'm not aware of anybody in the previous issues with regards to this property having addressed those homeowners that butt right up against those properties. And again, I don't want our homeowners association or the county, because of a decision that's made, having to foot the bill to those individuals if they were to win some type of a lawsuit.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
So anybody else wish to speak to this item? So name and address for the record. Have you been sworn?
Yes.
Okay.
Jim DeFurio. I'm the attorney for the petitioner, the association. My address is 201 East Kennedy Boulevard in Tampa. I'd like to make a few points. Number one, the petitioner is a homeowners association. The lot is vacant. The photograph that was given showed that gravel had been placed on the lot. That has been removed. It is now grass in its natural condition and is being mowed. It's an HOA. It can't build anything as far as a structure is concerned on this lot. It's not within its corporate capacity, so it has limited use to begin with. If it's not used for this purpose, overflow parking occasionally, it really has no purpose whatsoever. Many of the objections I heard really had to do with appearance, what it will look like as people are driving by when a vehicle occasionally may be parked in this area. That's frankly an issue for preliminary site review. That's going to be some of the things that the association is going to present to the county with regard to various site barriers, such as foliage and that kind of thing. Same with regard to access. And I think it's significant too. The association has notified, frankly, everybody in this area of this particular application. I think it's significant, really, that the initial complainant here that has made a statement, as I understand it, lives approximately 1,000 feet from this property, goes through 2 controlled intersections in order to pass it, and over a canal. So it is not the adjoining property owners or anyone, frankly, in close proximity that has a problem with this. It's somebody that lives in a distant locale. I will also say this, as far as the concerns with. May I continue?
You got one more minute.
I got one more minute? Yeah. 2 more points then. As far as the use of this lot for overflow parking by other than passenger vehicles, it's going to be rare. Why? Because the boat docks are closest to the paved parking areas. That's where boaters are going to put their trailers. Again, this is only overflow parking. it's not going to contain many vehicles on a regular basis at all. And I think that was kind of the end of my comments. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anybody else wish to speak to this item? One more. You can't speak again, sorry. It's just the rules, sorry. Go ahead, name and address for the record, please. And if you've been sworn.
Yes, I have,
Okay,
sir.
thank you.
My name is Nicholas Mudry. I live at 5415 Jobeth Drive, Newport Richey, Florida. I'm the president of our homeowners association. If you would, please just listen to this. When Gulf Landings was constructed, it initially was only 256 homes, thus 26 parking spaces. Our HOA now is 578 units. Over 110 of those units are not direct waterfront access property, but we live in a marina community. The distance between the questionable overflow parking lot and the parking lot to the right, can I walk over to that screen?
You just can't talk from there because the mic won't pick you up.
Okay.
Do you want to use the pointer?
Well, if you could point to right there. There's the parking lot with the white striping you can see. The distance between the two lots is the width of the road of 20 feet. There's people, our HOA does allow the daytime boaters to park their trailers to use the ramp. There's no other place where they could park their trailers. And the planning commissioner brought this up. The planning commissioner said that, those people who live in that, they have rights as well, and that's why it passed without any objection. Please keep in mind what the planning commissioners approved and why they approved it without objection. Thank you.
I have a question.
Okay, go ahead, Commissioner.
Will the HOA, excuse me, I have a question. And I didn't read all the conditions, and maybe this is in there. I've been looking at your neighborhood. Does the HOA have plans to landscape between the private property owner and the public garage?
Yes, we
More
do.
than the ligustrum hedge?
Yes, we do.
What are the requirements of that screening?
15-foot buffer, and it would be a type B, and I will look at the code and tell you what type B means.
So there will be some trees and some
Yes.
more screening than just ligustrum? Because looking
show
here, I
the
just see
shrubs.
ligustrum.
The rendering shows that.
Not on this one. Not the one that's showing there
This
that
one
I
shows a
see.
hedge.
It's just showing a hedge. That's not a 15-foot buffer with trees. I mean, I wouldn't, I get that you want to use this, but if I was the next door neighbor, I would prefer to have a buffer than be looking at a parking lot next to my house, so,
Do you see where it says Lot 9 on there?
yeah. It says viburnum hedge.
Okay, we can plant trees there.
Well, I sure our code requires it, so.
The code
but-
requires it. This is just conceptual, what they submitted with their application. The code does require, and that was stated to them at their pre-application meeting that occurred on December 17th of 2018. There's notes stating that they have to meet type B buffers.
So just
on
making
the
sure you understand that you're going to have to plant a 15-foot landscaped, more than a hedge buffer there.
Yes, ma'am.
trees and shrubs.
Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
okay.
And that will be, for the people that were in the audience and had concerns, that will be part of the site plan. You can always object to the site plan if it's not following code. Okay? Well, I have one question for you, too. One of the things mentioned by some of the residents that are here today was in reference to, will there be any type of like signage or anything that says like no overnight parking or no boat parking at this
Yes,
lot?
the planning commission had a few stipulations on that. One, no overnight parking, and
Says recommendations.
no overnight parking. And we would also put the hours on there, no parking like from 10 o'clock at night to 6 in the morning.
Only parking for special events.
Parking for special events, yeah.
And so there'll be some type of signage there.
Pardon me?
There'll be some type of signage there.
Yes.
That will be part of the site plan
Right.
approval
the pro-
process.
The
Well,
pro-
I'm sorry, one second. That's for staff.
Thank you. So the Planning Commission added a requirement, which is your condition number 3, that states that overnight parking is prohibited. So they have to install a sign that specifically states that.
Okay.
That's the,
So some of the other question and concern amongst some of the residents was RV parking, and which could be overnight or day, and boat trailer parking.
so that may be handled by condition 4, but it's up to the board. Storage of vehicles, including passenger vehicles, recreational vehicles, and commercial vehicles shall be prohibited. This conditional use shall not authorize the use of the subject site for a boat, commercial, or recreational vehicle storage lots.
Okay. And that's not what you want it for, so.
Pardon me?
That's not what you want the lot for, so that
No,
you have no objection to that?
No,
Okay.
no,
Okay.
no objection.
Right, I think that's what we're looking for. Okay, so if we're getting.
Mr. Chairman.
Can I go for a second? So if we move forward with that motion, that'll need to be part of that motion, that be added. Go ahead.
That, what be added?
What I just said.
It's already there.
No,
That-
that wasn't all.
So, and that was the point I was trying to make, is
Sorry.
what Denise read you is already in your conditions of approval. That's the storage of vehicles.
That's different than parking, though.
That's different than parking. If you wish to add that those types of things can't be parked on that lot, that's going to expand that condition.
That was one of their concerns that they had mentioned, the parking of boat trailers, RVs, and things like that during the daytime, which you have no objection to, because
Have
that's
no
not what it's
objection to
for.
that.
So we need to add, again, we'll
Yeah.
need to add that to the motion. We all good? All right, perfect. I think, any other questions for the applicant?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
just one question. And you have the abutting property owner, he's okay with this? There's not, the abutting property owner is not objecting?
They have not objected. We sent letters to them telling them we did not get no return correspondence whatsoever. Our property manager, who is here, handled that for us.
Okay, thank you.
Sounds good.
So if there's no more discussion, if somebody were to make that motion, we would want to add in no parking of recreational vehicles or boat trailers at any time.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
So I'll make a motion approving staff's recommendation with the addition of a sign saying no boat parking, RV parking, or commercial parking.
Beautiful.
Second.
I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Thank you. All righty. Moving on. P18. Marcy, how are you? Name and title for the record.
I have publication.
Thank you. Oh, hold on a
Item
second.
P18 was published in the Tampa Bay Times on December 20th, 2019.
All right, thank you.
Good afternoon. For the record, Marcy Esberg. This keeps going.
Now, if you
Got to
do
get it
this-
down to my height.
Business like this. Pull it down. See the end of it?
Very end.
Very end.
It's the very end.
Got it.
There you go.
Okay. Marcy Esberg, Director of Community Development. Your Community Development Department is working to improve the lives of Pasco citizens through homeless initiatives, neighborhood revitalization, affordable housing, and community partnerships using state and federal funding. And we're here today to discuss an amendment to our consolidated plan. So as an entitlement community, we are governed by a 5-year plan, which discusses the demographics, local housing market and economy, housing and community development needs and priorities. And our current plan is from 2018 to 2023, and this board has approved it in August of 2018. Along with a 5-year plan, we also prepare an annual action plan, and that details the budget for spending the Community Development Block Grant, known as CDBG, the Home Investment Partnership, HOME, and Emergency Solutions Grant. And that 1-year plan outlines the projects and activities that you approve of, and you approved the most recent one in August of 2019. Sometimes as we go along the year, changes come up. We might have to add an activity or cancel an activity, add new funding, change the scope of a project that you've already approved. And when that happens, it requires that we have to do a substantial amendment. HUD requires it, and our citizen participation plan also requires it. We have to have a public hearing to be held either prior to or in conjunction with you're approving the substantial amendment. And today, we're requesting the first substantial amendment for the 2019 action plan. This amendment is to transfer program income and also add a new project or activity. So the subject of our public hearing today, and for your approval, is to ask that you approve the transfer of program income from the Neighborhood Stabilization Program to CDBG as part of our closeout process of the NSP1 grant. The NSP grant, which was approved, gosh, I don't remember that one because I wasn't here then, but that was part of the programs that were rolled out to assist with the foreclosure process and all the foreclosures that were happening in various communities. We continually get program income for the projects that we did there, and in order to close out the grant, we have to spend the original allocation. And you can't spend the original allocation when the program income keeps coming in, because that's what you have to spend first. So we've asked HUD if we could transfer the program income to CDBG and use it for CDBG eligible activities. It's currently standing at almost $1.3 million. HUD has approved that, and now we're asking for the board to approve it so we can make that administrative change. The other action that we're asking for as part of the substantial amendment is to approve the addition of the Coit Road repaving project. That's to use Section 108 loan guarantee funds. This is just to approve adding the project into our action plan, and at a later date, you would get the project design, contracts, and specifics that would come before the board.
Thank you. Any questions from the board? Any questions from the board? Yes, sir. Commissioner Mariano.
Marcy, I'm okay with what you're trying to do. To take you back before, years ago, when I first was elected, we put a ton of money into our CDBG program for Tommytown. And since that point, we delayed a lot of projects on this side. I showed a film earlier about Leisure Lane, where we have all the property that this board, I think, did a great job in funding Habitat for Humanity to buy those 51 lots. And we need about $1.5 million for infrastructure improvements to a septic to sewer conversion. Can you in the future say that you'll be able to look at possibly setting that up to be a project you bring back to us?
Yes, as a matter of fact, I have already spoken to Habitat for Humanity and also in conversations with the city of Newport Richey about our next funding cycle, which will open up in March, and the idea of bringing a infrastructure project back for the committee to review and then for the board to review.
Okay, thank you.
So, any other questions from the board? Seeing now, this is a public hearing. Is anybody here to speak to this item?
Well,
Don't
I
all
wanna-
raise your hands at once.
I'll make a motion to approve this, but I want to ask her a question after.
Yes. Okay.
Move to approve?
I have a motion. I have a second. I think I had a second down there already. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Thank you.
I received the notification of the change in the HUD rules and zoning. Have you looked at that yet?
I have not.
I think I forwarded it to you. I forwarded it to you and Kathy and a few others. Yeah. I don't know what that means yet. I'm sure we'll be discussing it at NACO this summer in Orlando. But I want to understand, they just took away some zoning, something with zoning and low-income housing.
They're the previous president's rules that they'd put in place with respect to HUD dollars and a string, if you will, that came with those.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we just got that too, so I'm
Yeah.
not sure we fully understand yet what that change means.
Yeah. So
So,
hopefully
we're
someone's looking at it
that.
and will talk to me about it. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so P19. I do not see anybody in the audience except for staff and a reporter. And so just read the description, the title description, and if there's no questions from the board, I'll call for public comment real quick, just in case.
And I'll say the pub.
Yep, thank you.
P19 was published on December 30th, 2019.
Okay, great. This is a resolution authorizing streetlight service areas within the areas commonly referred to as summer lakes, authorizing the assessment rate change and establishing levy of assessments against benefiting property owners in accordance with ordinance. I do have one thing before we call for public comment. We did, I wish to notify the board that we did receive one objection. This is why this item was moved to the end to regular for the proposed increase in this area from a citizen by the name of Alexander Dunsmore. We have addressed Mr. Dunsmore's concerns, and we did respond in writing. We also received a phone call back from the citizen on the 15th of this month, and he shared that he was satisfied with our response and shared no additional concerns.
All right, great.
I'd like
Thanks
to
for getting back
submit into record the letter and our response to the clerk.
Okay, thanks for getting back to the citizen. Any questions from the board?
I will make a motion to approve this.
But I got to
without-
ask for public comment still.
Okay,
But
and after, well, the,
Any questions from the
All right.
board? Seeing none. Anybody would like to speak to this item? Seeing none. Back to the board.
move for approval.
I have a motion. I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
Don't
Thank
leave.
you.
I have a question for
Submit this
him.
into file, is that correct?
You can submit that to the clerk if you'd like to. That's.
So I have been asking for someone to take a look at Trouble Creek for a couple years now, for a couple lights. There are some businesses that have their own lights that shed a light on the sidewalk there, but there are some really dark, scary places. I drive that road almost every night, and I just really feel we need a few lights on Trouble Creek, and no one's ever done anything, and maybe I wasn't sure who it was to speak to, and maybe it's you. So that is a county road, it's not a neighborhood, so we'd be picking up those lights, but it is a pretty urbanized road, and there are a lot of people walking on that sidewalk at night. And so I would like to see, it's just a couple strategic lights between Seven Springs and US 19 that are needed out there, but thanks. That's it.
Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay, so we're back to Commissioner Mariano. That does it for, yeah, that's the public hearing items.
All
Commissioner
right,
Mariano?
thank you, Mr. Chairman. I told you I was going to mention about In the Gulf, and I think I had a meeting with staff, and I talked with the landowner. We're going to meet Friday morning at 10. I think we've got our terms, from the sound of it, pretty well resolved, so I think we'll be able to resolve it then. I need a letter, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Or some type of, if I make a motion, to serve as the Gulf Consortium Secretary-Treasurer again. I'm going to go for that position and a few more.
Okay.
But I need approval from the board to do that.
Okay.
Move for approval of a letter recommending Mariana.
Okay. Have a second. All in favor? Aye. All
Aye.
opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you. And I would like to say that the Restore Committee is going to meet on February 6th, or it's February 8th. It's after the board meeting coming up.
Not the 8th.
Yeah,
Sometime in February.
hang on.
I think it's the night you have something going on. What is it?
I think it's the 8th. I mean, no, the 6th.
The 8th?
Yeah, February 6th.
February
I
6th,
guess we
yeah.
meet in the, yeah, we meet in the 4th. So on the 6th meeting, one of the topics is going to be the dredging for Gulf Harbors and also Hudson. And we found out in a meeting last month that they left out part of Leisure Beach Channel down and around the corner. We're trying to get that added in. There's a shortage of about $17,000 to do that. We funded $100,000 of it. So we haven't resolved that yet, but it's going to be a topic of conversation that comes up. I'm just wondering, as we are going to meet, do you want us to discuss at all the Port Richey dredging, or just wait till bring it back to us as far as the board goes? We're still not ready to come back. We're still working with the city, in case they ask about it.
I don't know. I'll go to the county administrator on that.
Okay.
Commissioner, I think
Let it
your
go?
comment of that we're still working with the city
That's
is
fine.
the right way to go.
Okay.
Because I think that's where we are.
Okay. And I'd like to say that, Ridge Road, I think, was a phenomenal accomplishment for us. All the great work we've done. Mr. Biles, you're keeping us rolling with that thing. Going through the process was phenomenal. All the people that helped across the board, I think our participation, showing the initiative to keep on working, and Congressman Bilirakis. The future of Pasco is so much better. And for those that may object to it, I think everyone should remember, there was going to be 200 acres of commercial development that was going to be out there, 6,500 homes. And through that whole stretch of land, as well as putting 17 bridges, which will help any hurricane evacuation like Tropical Storm Debbie that shut down State Road 54, people are going to have a way to get out and get safe, and more importantly, as Kevin Guthrie used to say, to be able to get back. So I want to applaud the board for staying with it every step of the way. It was a monumental day out there that was phenomenal. I would just want to float one idea. The trip to Tallahassee I thought was phenomenal. Having the governor get there, and some of the bite lines I read in some of the little articles or tweets that were out there is like, how does Pasco County get the governor and the Senate president and Senate designate, obviously we know that one, but to come to a meeting that they're having with their school board? I think these next few years are going to be critical, and we've got Ralph Lair up there. I think Ralph's doing a great job. We don't have a federal appointee as far as a lobbyist firm. We don't have a state one as well. If not for this year, but even for next year coming, just keep it in the back of your mind that maybe we want to take a look at putting another state one coming in, because if we're going to have the ever opportunity to capitalize on the Senate President, Speaker of the House, now's the time to put resources into that to make sure that we're going to be on top of anything we ask for to help it push through the process. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Mr. Biles.
Yes, sir. I have a few items. One, we'll start with, there was a conversation we had earlier with respect to performance evaluation and feedback, and just kind of let you know, I've kind of changed the process at my level in the organization where I sit down monthly with my direct reports and we go through those kinds of things. So we have monthly one-on-ones to make sure they understand where they are in the process and what we need to work on. So it's a little different than an annual, but all the data shows that if you have those more often, it's better anyway. So I just wanted to kind of let you know that. The second one is we just finished up the top workplace survey, and we have some of our initial results. And again, employee engagement, employee connection leads to better customer service. So there's a direct link that way, but you got to focus on the employee that leads to improving customer service. And across the board, we're up 14% year over year. And for the first time, the deeply disengaged employees is actually below 10% in the time we've been doing the survey. So we're making a lot of progress inside the organization, and we're actually, our ratio of engaged to deeply disengaged employees is trending. We're double what the average U.S. company is, which is great, but we're still well below where we want to be, which is where a world-class organization is. But we're trending right. That measure itself is up 38%, 39% year over year. So a lot of great things happening in the organization. Things like what we did earlier this morning impact that, because you can never recognize people enough for the great work they do. That's part of what we did this morning. So I wanted to kind of relay those two things to you, and then I have one final item. I need you to delegate authority to me, and if you don't mind, I'm going to read the statement that I have that's come through the Lynn Angeline and Moffitt Group through David Goldstein. So that they're working through the final documents as they prepare to close on the property. One thing that needs to be cleaned up, and we don't have a board meeting really to get it done in the right timing. So I'll read the statement and then would ask that you make a motion to accept the emergency and then approve it. So it's to delegate to me, the county administrator, the authority to execute and deliver to Moffitt and/or Lynn Angeline LLC any documents necessary to ensure that A, Moffitt will have legal and practical access through the Eco Corridor within Project Arthur until such time as legal and practical access to the Moffitt parcel within Project Arthur is available through the extension of Sun Lake Boulevard, and B, the Eco Corridor within Project Arthur will not be used for certain life science uses or other similar uses that are proposed to be developed within the Moffitt parcel. Thank you.
Move approval.
A motion, second. Well, I got to hear the emergency first. Motion to hear the emergency.
Move to hear the emergency.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. On the
All
item.
the direction of the county administrator's motion.
Okay.
Do we have a copy of that?
I'll get you a copy of it.
Okay, thank you.
Motion by Commissioner Mariano. I need a second.
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Thank you. Anything else?
That's all I have.
All right.
Thank you.
Mr. Steinschneider.
I'm also going to have you move the emergency.
Move the emergency. Any motion to move the emergency?
Move the emergency.
Second.
A motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Thank you.
At your last board meeting, Bell Lake Subdivision MPUD PDD 20-7448 was heard. There was an advertising error on both the letters sent and the posted notice. The applicant was informed my understanding is they are re-advertising and re-noticing for the February 4th, 2020 meeting. However, under your procedural rules, 8.6, I would like to get a motion to reconsider the approval that was granted to that MPUD.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion.
Move to reconsider.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Thank you.
That way, we don't have an issue. The resolution went out, signed, and they're coming back through the process, but procedurally, that will get us back to a clean slate. Earlier in the day, Commissioner Starkey raised a question with regard to the methodology of the PVAS. I'm with Commissioner Mariano. I don't ever remember seeing that as an issue. However, it would appear that if we change the methodology to say that flag lots, which is what that would have been, that had sole access through a street that was being served, would have to pay full assessment, that would get you where you need to be. Because in effect, that lot was a flag lot with a driveway or an easement through another lot to get them to a.
It's not part of their association, so I'm not sure you could call it a flag lot.
Why wouldn't it be?
I don't know, it was purchased outside of their association boundary, I think.
It's either landlocked or it's a flag lot.
It's landlocked with an
Then it-
easement. And here's the other crazy thing, the Griesmers have been maintaining that easement, thinking it's their responsibility to keep up their driveway. So couldn't we just say any property that whose only access is through a paved road has to participate in the paving assessment? And not say what kind of lot it is?
I'm not sure why. We'll research it and find out historically why that provision is in the methodology, and we'll bring it back. The other thing that I needed to raise was that the P9 on your agenda that I raised a concern about, I've now seen the advertisement for it, and it was properly advertised. It was just improperly shown on your agenda, given that there was no one here for the item, and they would have had actual notice in the newspaper if they were, if they were objecting to it. I think you can move forward with your second public hearing on that LDC amendment.
All right. Good. Thank you, sir. Madam Clerk.
I have two community events I wanted to let everybody know about, and one is our Big Shred event. That's this Saturday and the following Saturday. So this Saturday, January 25th, will be at the West Pasco Judicial Center, and the one on February the 1st will be at the Robert Sumner Judicial Center. It runs from 10 until noon, and it is meant to help our citizens get rid of properly and securely their sensitive paperwork that might have Social Security numbers or bank numbers on them. It's our Big Shred event, and it coincides with the Celebrating Data Privacy Day. Going to put it all together.
It's a day for everything.
Exactly, there is. All right, and then we have a Valentine's Day wedding ceremony. That's our mass wedding ceremony in front of the historic courthouse. That is on Valentine's Day. It's an easy day to remember. People that want to participate and they want to get married in the group ceremony, they can do so by applying for the marriage license in our office and registering for the event. We have fun stuff like music and cake and decorations, and we even provide for a charge, a carriage ride around downtown Dade City.
Is that where Commissioner Moore and myself
Yes.
sing?
Yes.
Oh, yes,
Would you
we
like
did.
to sing again?
We did sing it that day.
sang it
I think I'll be out there. I'll be absent that day.
He's saying, going to the chapel, because we're going again.
That's right.
Yep, they sang it.
Oh, yeah.
Their voices.
That's funny.
And
Dorothy was the star.
registration has to be done by February 7th. That's it.
All right. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
We voted on 2 items from you earlier, so I just have 2 more quick things to bring up. Again, thank you, everybody, for productive Pasco Day in Tallahassee, as both of you already stated. It was nice to have the governor there. And again, I saw some of those mentions by some of the reporters up in Tallahassee. That was pretty slick, wasn't it? That was good. So again, thanks you for the team for doing a great job. We appreciate everything. We thank our legislators, each and every one of them, for supporting, obviously, our legislative agenda. Everything has been picked up, and we're thrilled about that. Just two things real quick. We have a workshop coming up in February. I know the agenda wasn't entirely done, but I've asked our county administrator to add our discussion on apartment complexes, which we stated in a commission meeting. We would have that discussion at a future date. We hadn't had it yet. So I have requested to have that discussion that day. Just for your knowledge, and you can always ask Mr. Goldstein for additional information. I asked him a question on what are the incentives and subsidies for the standard multifamily apartments in all areas, or that means urban, suburban, and rural. I don't know if you know this or not, but keep this in mind. The urban is $309 per apartment unit, suburban $1,219, and rural is $2,582. So that's what this board is currently incentivizing or subsidizing for each one of those apartment units. I think that may come to a shock to some, but when we have that discussion in the workshop, we can dig a little deeper into that and why we're actually still doing that when we have an oversaturation of something already in this county.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Didn't we say we wanted to get rid of that subsidy?
It was, some people made that, yes. I don't want to name who, but I was supportive of it, yes. Some may have been supportive. But that was only a discussion to have a further discussion, right?
I told you motions are important.
Yeah, well, yeah.
To be clear, at the time, the board moved forward with removing the subsidy for mini storage.
We did
in the
do that,
warehouse,
yes.
But we did not have 3 votes to remove it for apartments.
Yeah.
It was deferred to this future discussion.
Yeah.
Okay.
What's the subsidy on hotel rooms?
It's 100%, because hotels are, I don't know the dollar amount, but it's 100% subsidy.
We might add that and just see if we want to just change that a little bit, because these people are built, I want hotels, but my issue is they build the hotel and they flip it immediately because they're making a profit on our subsidy. People are walking in and buying our hotels right and left.
So, in having a discussion with Mr. Goldstein, even though I'd love to have somebody make a motion today, get rid of those, we cannot do that. That has to go through a public hearing process.
No, I know
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
but I'm just saying that.
But yes, but I appreciate it. So we can have that discussion, unless somebody wants to make a motion to
Let me make a
start the
motion
public
now,
hearing
just to
process.
just to fill it out. I'm going to say we make a motion to remove the subsidies for apartments.
Can I get a second on that?
Well, I'd probably be in favor of a reduction, but I think we have to,
Well, it has to still go through the process, public
Yeah.
hearing process. So that's a second?
well, it's a remove or a reduction?
Remove.
I don't know. I just think I think that's a big thing and we should discuss it. But
And we will through the
I
process.
will
I just
be
want
in
to get the
favor
process
of a
going.
major reduction.
It would be his motion is to have the public hearing in reference to that. It's
We still
not-
got to go through the whole process.
Oh,
You still have to go process. So if you second that, it means we can have that discussion and have a public
well,
hearing.
other people can second it. I don't have to be the only one to
Oh,
second
no,
it.
I'm just giving you the opportunity to.
Sure.
I still have questions out there. How many apartment rooms do we have compared to the total market, and what is the right number?
Then-
I don't want to keep people who want better housing than some of our older, lower-priced housing to not have opportunities, but I do agree there could be a saturation point, but I think we should discuss that.
Yeah, that's good, because I'm very confident that they will still be built.
If I could, all right, let
The
me,
discussions I have, they still be
I
built.
feel
Well, let's
the
stick on the
same for
apartment
hotels.
complex now.
let me modify the motion.
Yes.
So I move that we take a look at the apartments as far as removing or reducing the subsidy and
Second.
keeping special focus on West Pasco where we may need them.
That's true. because there are special.
I
things
need
for
them
us
on
that-
19, and
Yeah,
I'm
so
hoping for
I'm with you
redevelopment
there.
to get them, and I may
Okay.
want those subsidies there.
Yeah, so what that'll do, this will speed the process up, and we have the workshop to have that discussion, and then you can start the public hearing notices.
But what's
Right.
a couple weeks? I mean, why wouldn't
Well,
we wait till after we have a
the workshop in February is the 25th.
Yeah, let's
So
just
it's
do it
a-
at the workshop.
Well, you can't make a motion at the workshop.
But you can.
No, but we can
We
get
can
an
do
idea
that.
of where everybody stands. I can do more
agree.
research before there.
I agree.
And again, I'm not saying I disagree, because I think there's a lot of valid
Yeah.
points you've made, but I don't think today's the day to make a motion. I understand where you're coming from, Commissioner, but I think we're going to have a workshop again. We're a team. There's some things I want to have answers to before that. So
Yeah.
I,
I will go on record, I am trying to find people to build those in the southwest Pasco County. And
I'm
as
with you
part
all
of
the way on the west
redevelopment,
Pasco.
so I don't want to just blank
Yeah.
slate, reduce that. There are
Yeah.
places, there may be in Zephyr Hills, I don't know, where you need some better rental housing. I don't know.
No, you're pretty good over
Getting
there,
some
too.
in
They're pretty good,
Dade City on the east side now.
yeah. they're
But
pretty good.
I get that the 54 corridor has a lot of them, and probably they don't need any more. Sometimes the market fixes that, but there are areas in the county that still need some help.
So your incentives are greater, as you know, for the Mudroom T&D and TOD in the West Market area, as you stated, in the redevelopment and infill areas. So that's where you would want to continue to look at, obviously, having what you
Yeah,
just
leave them
spoke of,
just the
the
way they
example
are.
subsidies or the incentives at that time. So
Yeah, so let's take a deeper dive into it. It's more complex than just.
That's up to Commissioner Mariano. He made the motion, so.
If the seconder wants to withdraw, I can withdraw.
I'll
and
withdraw my second, and we'll have a
Alright.
workshop on it.
Okay.
We'll let it
So
ride.
just another month that we're going to keep subsidizing apartments in the east and 54 corridor that we don't need, but okay. Giving free money away, that's about, how much is that? 200 units, you're looking at that's a pretty hefty amount of money that we could use for roads in those areas. Hey, last thing is that something was brought up to me, and Commissioner Starkey, you'll probably want to know about this. So the tax collector reached out to me yesterday because Metropolitan Ministries reached out to him and said they got a bill for a PVAS for $25,000.
Oh, yeah, what's happening on that?
For
Yeah,
$25,000.
sorry. I did get that.
Yeah, so I
Yeah,
have the bill, I have a copy of the bill right here, which they did do, and, I thought their ingress egress was on 19.
Yeah, it is.
Can you
Well,
forward
they-
me a copy of the bill?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we're researching what happened.
They have that side, the little corner that they go in on the side, but most of it is on 19.
Yeah,
And they'll shut that one off if they need to.
Yeah.
A good point. I'm sorry. I did get that, and I don't know what I did with it.
Okay, so you will reach out to
They're-
Metropolitan Ministries and the tax collector?
Yeah, and I have a meeting with them coming up next week, I think,
Is-
so
okay.
I'd like an answer if I could.
Okay, great. Anything else? Anybody? Okay, great. We're adjourned. Thank you.